Okay, folks, we are back. This is episode 14 of Street to Strategy. I wanted to let you guys know that a few of my books come in. So this is a copy of my book. It's on Amazon right now, $8.90 per copy. Pick yourself up a copy. Good read. Let's get started. So today's guest is a man whose entire professional life has been dedicated to truth, justice, and the pursuit of facts when the stakes are at their highest. He is a licensed private investigator, the owner and chief investigator of Central California Investigations, and one of the most experienced defense investigators in California's Central Valley. With more than two decades of experience spanning law enforcement, instruction, and high-level criminal defense investigations, he brings a rare and powerful perspective to the work he does. Before founding his own investigative firm, he served as a police officer with both the Los Angeles Police Department and the Visalia Police Department, where he worked patrol, trained new officers as a field training officer, served on the DUI team, and became a respected instructor in defense tactics. He has also dedicated years to youth services and community-based policing, shaping the next generation through his work as a school resource officer and explorer advisor. Beyond the streets, he's an educator at heart. He has taught at the police academies and colleges and developed training curricula for security professionals and holds multiple state certifications as an instructor in baton, taser, pepper spray, and defense tactics. His academic journey is just as impressive, with advanced degrees in criminal justice and an ongoing doctoral work focused on public safety and policy and social change. As a defense investigator, he has served as the lead investigator on an extraordinary number of serious and capital murder cases, including state and federal death penalty cases. He is also a recognized expert in police procedures and has provided expert testimony in multiple court proceedings. His work has earned him commendations, statewide awards, and the trust of defense teams across California. But more than titles and credentials, he stands for integrity, relentless preparation, and an unshakable commitment to the truth. It's an honor to welcome my guest today, Bryan Pinto. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
Man, that's a lot.
Too much.
It's a lot.
I was like, who is that
guy? When you look back on your childhood, where do you see the earliest seeds of the man you eventually became, and what moments or environments shaped you long before you ever put on the badge?
So when I was growing up, I remember in second grade, they asked us to draw a picture of what we wanted to be when we grew up. And obviously I drew a police officer. And I was too young then, but as I got older into high school and really got focused in what I wanted to do with my career going into law enforcement, I joined the Fresno County Sheriff's Department Explorer program. And my parents are hippies.
Okay.
Big time liberal hippies. So
are they still alive?
Yeah, they're still alive.
Okay.
And I think when they were looking at me going into law enforcement, like, who is this boy? But I was also, at that age, when I was younger, running around, and my great-grandpa used to call me the little Republican of the family.
Okay.
My politics have changed. We're not going to talk about that. But, I grew up in a very loving household that maybe wasn't, they weren't guiding me towards law enforcement, but it was something I was interested in.
Yeah.
So I would be that boy that would come home and watch Cops every Saturday night, record all the episodes, join the Explorer program. And once I joined the Explorer program and started going on ride-alongs and learning more about law enforcement, I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
Gotcha. Was there a single moment growing up when the idea of law enforcement or investigation stopped being a vague thought and became a true calling? Because I think we all have that moment. I know I did.
Yeah, I think my moment was the first ride-along that I ever went on. And riding along with that deputy, it was in the metro area of Fresno. So we were in the city, but in the county islands, and going to the calls and getting to watch that deputy conduct investigations, conduct interviews, trying to find out what happened. I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
You remember the deputy's name?
I don't remember that deputy's name, but I will tell you one of the next deputies I rode with was our former police chief, Colleen Mestis.
Okay.
When I was 16 years old, she was a patrol deputy in the Metro Division of Fresno County, and I went on a ride along with her. That's who they put me with that day. That's when I first met her. And she was a go-getter back then. So she was driving fast, hand on her gun the whole time, and I said, that's how I want to be.
Well, and she's actually on an episode of Cops. I saw that one where they're like out in some field somewhere, so small world, man. Yeah. It's so weird. And the older you get, you realize everything is so connected. It really is, man.
It is.
Who were the people, either family, mentors, even adversaries, who shaped your moral compass and nudged you toward the life of service?
Definitely my parents. They're still married today. We just had their 50th wedding anniversary party in October at my house. They instilled in me and my brother and sister, do the right thing, be kind to people, don't get into trouble. And they made us work.
What type of work did they do?
My dad was a winemaker.
Okay.
And I was actually one of the first males on my dad's side of the family to break tradition and not work at a winery.
Oh, wow.
So my entire, all my cousins that are older than me, all my uncles, they all worked in the wine industry.
Oh, wow.
And then my mom worked with special ed kids, autistic kids for Fresno Unified.
That's a calling too, man. That is a true calling.
I
Anybody
volunteer.
who does anything special ed, I'll tell you a couple of things. God bless them. Not the easiest gig, but that is a true calling.
It is. I volunteered a couple of summers during summer school to go help out with the kids. And every day I left, I was like, how do you do this? There's no way. No way.
100%, dude. You know what? I mean, I sub sometimes, and every time I walk away from a school, I'm like, never again. You know what I mean? Before your first academy day, even before the uniform, before expectations, who were you at your core?
I was a hardworking, I was hardworking. I was someone that was always interested in finding out about things. I was always curious. I was always someone who wanted to, if something was presented to me, I wanted to get to where it came from.
Yeah.
How did we get here? What caused this to happen or what caused the situation to happen? So very curious, very hardworking.
What type of work were you doing before?
So my first job was delivering newspapers when I was 14. Don't ever do that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we don't have that anymore, but that was the hardest job I ever did.
There was something used to be called a newspaper.
Yeah. Every morning getting up at 4 a.m. was not fun when I was a teenager. But when I was 16, I started working at McDonald's.
Okay.
And when I was 18, they made me a shift manager.
Okay.
So McDonald's was my only other job before going into law enforcement. And so I had a lot of responsibility already as a manager at 18 years old.
You know what? And I will tell you something, man. Fast food that's a hard gig, but that, as far as customer service, that's going to teach you a ton about people. I did customer service selling clothes, and it was invaluable by the time I became a cop, because we already kind of knew how to talk to people. And, anybody who does customer service, I don't care where you do it, not the easiest gig, because you're dealing with people. And for some reason, I don't know where it comes in our society, but when you're providing customer service to people, there's just this thing where people love to just basically shit on people that do customer service. And I always hated it. But I think it really taught me how to talk to people, and I'm sure it did the same for you.
Right. I mean, it helped. I would say one of my weaknesses when I was a teenager is I was very quiet, kind of shy. So going to talk to strangers or having to deal with situations was something I definitely had to learn. And I think that job, being an explorer at the Explorer Post in Fresno, that all helped me kind of break out of my shell.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And start talking to people. Now I don't have any issue with it. We've talked to thousands of people at this point. So
yeah. Walk us into your mindset the day you stepped into the Los Angeles Police Academy in 1999. What did you believe about police work, and what were you terrified you might discover?
Okay, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
When I applied at LAPD, I was 20 and a half years old. And you could go to LA and do what was called out-of-town testing. since I didn't live down there, I could go do all my testing in a week. They did your background, they did your polygraph, your medical, everything in a week. Well, at the same time, I had also applied at CHP and went through the same process with them. The first week of January 99, I get 2 letters in the mail. LAPD and CHP, both offering me jobs.
Dude,
so I had to make a decision.
Strangle you for not taking that chippy job.
Well, I'm sure we'll get to it, but I have 2. If I had 2 regrets in law enforcement, the first one was maybe I should have picked CHP because I'd probably still be working over on the coast somewhere.
Yeah.
Or maybe up in the mountains somewhere with a cush job. But I had never really lived outside of my house until I was 21. So here I am taking the job at LAPD, moving to Los Angeles to go to the police academy. My parents had still done my laundry.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, I wasn't spoiled. They made me work, as we just talked about. But I was going into LA, knowing that academy had the reputation of being one of the toughest academies in the world. And then kind of getting the outline of the first day you're going to show up in your suit, have everything ready, and walking into that academy was exactly what I thought it was going to be. A lot of yelling, a lot of screaming.
Oh, yeah. That's a very high-stress academy. I would tell you something that, you know what, I mean, different times, man, but see, I tried to get hired after OJ. And, dude, I mean, it was like, even though I went in there and just nailed those interviews, they almost gave me this look like, this ain't happening, dude.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that was 95.
Right.
You know what
and
I
they
mean?
were still doing that in 99. So I got lucky. They gave me bonus points for the Explorer experience.
Oh, good for you.
So I had scored 95 on my interview and then got 10 plus points for being an Explorer. So I had 105 out of 100 on my oral interview.
Good for you, man.
So, and not being political, not saying anything, but I was one of the few white people in my academy class.
I believe
at
that.
the time.
I totally believe that. Yeah, it was cool, man. I had a background investigator from LAPD, and he called me up one day, and he was like, you know what, kid? He goes, I'm going to give you a no-shitter, man. He goes, you're the wrong color at the wrong time. And he goes, it's bullshit. I hate to say it. He goes, nobody's going to send you a letter saying it's affirmative action. He goes, but I'm just going to give it to you straight. He's like, come back in a few years. Man, dude, it hurt, dude. It hurt. I got the same thing for the chippies. What did winning the Tina Kerbat Award for Excellence mean to you at graduation, especially as a new officer standing among the best of LAPD? That must have been cool, dude.
It was cool. So when I got hired,
was that academics or what was that?
That was for most enthusiastic and most improved cadet.
Okay.
So where I had to improve is when I got hired at LAPD, I weighed about 125 pounds.
Yeah.
I was a toothpick. And so my physical strength was not there.
Yeah.
So I was struggling on some of the stuff, having to do 5 pull-ups and 100 push-ups and sit in push-up position and stuff like that was difficult.
Yeah.
So one of the things I had to work on in the academy was my physical strength and getting into shape. And I did that. And I stayed positive during that. And that was an award voted on by your classmates.
Okay.
So I had no idea I was going to get that award. And the day of academy, like, okay, here's who's getting the award. So this is when you're going to come up. And they told me, and I was shocked.
Yeah.
But proud of what I did because I overcame the struggle at first to finish,
Also, man, I mean, dude, that academy, man, that's a live-in, right?
No.
No,
we went home every night.
Okay, went home. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that academy, even back then, I mean, everybody and their mama kind of knew. Chippies, LAPD, Orange County Sheriffs, LA County, those are rough academies, man. High stress.
Yeah, we had to earn everything in it. I mean, from getting out of our suits to be in the cadet uniform to wearing our belts and our equipment. I mean, you had to earn, everything was a test and a step that you had to pass.
Well, back then, how long was that academy?
It was 7 months.
Okay, that's a long time, dude.
So they added a month because you had to learn the LAPD policies.
Okay.
And in that academy, the first day of the academy, they swear you in right there. So you're an LAPD employee right then. And we had to sign our 5-year contract that we wouldn't leave early.
Got it.
Which I broke.
Paint us a picture of your very first day on the street and what's like one specific thing that you'll never forget.
okay, I'm going to compare it to something because I think a lot of people that probably watch a show of law enforcement, we've all watched End of Watch,
For
the
sure.
movie,
For
and
sure.
the way they treat the boot
Yes.
in that show, 100% accurate.
Yeah.
So you got to wear long sleeves, you got to wear your tie. I walk into the briefing room, lo and behold, there's donuts at the front
Yeah.
counter, and I'm like, okay, and nobody's talking to you. You got to sit in the front row, and you feel completely alienated with all the senior officers, and you see, hash marks going up their sleeves. I was in North Hollywood Division, and speak when spoken to. I made the mistake of sitting and going to the second row to sit in somebody's seat, and they let me have it. I got lucky. I got assigned to a pretty, I would say, friendly FTO. He came and greeted me in the locker room beforehand, kind of told me what his expectations were going to be. But it was just like that, just like that movie that we just talked about. Go get the equipment, go get the car ready. They're yelling at you. They're not asking you. They're speak when spoken to. And it was tough.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting is I always used to kid around with Bryan a lot for the folks at home because you were on a couple of episodes of LAPD Life on the Beat.
I was, nothing crazy, nothing special, but small segments, yes.
But that's, you know what? I mean, that's actually a cool thing because you know what, bro? I don't know if you have those episodes recorded somewhere, but just to know that you were on a show of that caliber, I mean, that's got to be pretty cool.
It was.
You know what I mean? And I've often said this, and I'm sure you think the same. For a lot of years, LAPD was kind of the gold standard of law enforcement, and everybody kind of copied LAPD. I think they've lost a step in these past few years, but it's still, I mean, anybody that polices in that city, God bless them, because that's a tough city to police, big time.
It was.
Policing in the late 90s was a different world. What stands out most when you compare that era to today's law enforcement culture?
I think there's a lot of things different. One thing is going back to the way we started. I don't think law enforcement agencies, especially LAPD, could treat their rookies like they treat now.
Oh, no way. It would not work.
People, the new generation's feelings would be hurt, but you get sued for some of the things that were said to me or said to trainees and stuff like that. You can't talk to people on the streets like we used to talk to people.
Oh, no.
If you told somebody to shut the fuck up, which was one of my favorite lines to use with the gangster, because they're not going to understand anything else.
They do not understand pretty please with sugar on top.
Exactly. It's just a whole different, touchy-feely thing now.
It is. I think I'm all for being professional, but you know this, man. When we're dealing with hardcore crooks do not understand, sir, please. They understand, sit your ass down before you get smacked. And for you were one of the first openly gay officers in the departments known for being intensely macho. What was the emotional reality of being yourself in a culture that almost wasn't even ready for that?
Well,
LAPD has got to be better than Visalia with that.
Yeah, so LAPD, I mean, there was tons of openly gay officers. When I worked North Hollywood Division for my probationary year. On one shift at one time, there were 7 of us that were openly gay, not an issue. We had our own, union group. Everybody was supportive. I decided I wanted to come back home to the Valley. My parents don't have the greatest health. I was coming home on a lot of my days off to see my friends back in Fresno. And so I applied at Visalia PD. And I probably should have noticed that there was a church on every corner in the city of Visalia. So I was like, okay, maybe this isn't a good idea, but I did it because I was told there was another gay officer there.
Yeah.
And so coming to Visalia, I felt like I had to prove myself.
Oh, for sure.
And I even felt that way at LAPD. I think that there's a stigma when it comes to gay male police officers that, maybe they're not tough. Maybe they can't handle themselves or they're too touchy-feely. I don't see that problem with female gay officers because generally, lesbian women are looked at as macho and manly and stuff like that. So I always felt like I had to go one step ahead of everybody else. I had to work harder. I had to prove that if we were going to get in a fight, I can handle it. If we had a situation, I can handle it. So that was always in the back of my mind on whatever I could do.
Yeah, and for the folks at home, I don't know if you remember this, but I think it was your first day or second day, they had you come ride with me. And so you get in the car, we're driving around, and I'll never forget this. It was like 10, 20 minutes. You're like, hey, I just don't know if you know this, but I'm gay. And I don't know if you remember this, but I said, no shit, right? And I go, because honestly, bro, as long as you're a good cop, and I think, me and you, we've always been friends because I never treated you different because you were gay, and I didn't care. I cared that the fact you're a good cop and you treated me good. But I think there was at one time, I think I counted it, but at one time I think there were 6 police officers that were alternative lifestyle at that time.
Right.
You, Corey,
Jim.
there was even Jim, Amy. There was a whole other group of people, and it didn't matter to us. It mattered that, hey, can I count on you to jump the fence and help me fight these gangsters? That's what I care about, right? And I think that's something that kind of solidified our relationship. And then we went to YSO school together, and that was just another part of it. But again, it's like, there's never been no stigma that for you that I ever thought, oh, he can't do this job. You were always legit, and you were right in there fighting with us, and that's all that matters to us. If I can count on you to save my life if I need it, that's what I need to know. Right. You worked in North Hollywood, Wilshire, and even served in the mobile field force during the 2000 Democratic National Convention. What do those environments teach you about chaos, control, and courage?
So North Hollywood was a very good training ground because it had a little bit of everything. We had the Hollywood Hills where we would get dispatched to famous people's houses. I've dealt with Damon Wayans, John Goodman. Yeah. The biggest party I ever had to break up was at the Scorpions rock band mansion. It took us like 3 hours to clear that party. It was crazy. But then it also had the bad part, the ghetto, as we called it. And my first homicide scene was in that area, and it was a bunch of Mexican nationals who had been drinking all night, and they got into a big fight, and 3 people are dead in the apartment.
Oh, wow.
All killed with beer bottles because they're
just cracking each other.
Caradas, it looked like a movie scene. There was sprays of blood on the roof dripping down. One of them was in the bathtub, and it was half full of blood. And that was my first homicide scene I ever had to deal with.
Wow.
And that's when I was like, what the hell am I doing? So that was a good training ground. North Hollywood had the reputation of being the toughest for new officers. They were known for being the toughest FTO program out of the 18 divisions. Had no problems. My last FTO, her last name was Ford, so get that joke, Ford Pinto.
Were you working nights, days?
They would mix. We would change. Their deployment periods were every month, so every month we would get a new. We'd stay on the same shift, but we'd have to pick our days off and stuff.
Okay.
But they rotated from mids to days and swings. And
is night shift is a 2-man unit, days shift?
Everything is two
LAPD is always 2-man units.
Yeah, the only 1-man unit is you'd get assigned to as the report writing car, and you were supposed to only go take cold calls or go back up a 2-man unit, but you weren't supposed to be dispatched to calls by yourself or anything like that.
What was the shift like going from one of the nation's largest police agencies to Visalia PD, and what changed your approach to the job?
Okay, so my first day at Visalia PD, I walk into briefing, and there's 3 of us and a sergeant.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's it?
Yeah, because back there, what were you guys on there?
We had like 25 people on a shift.
Oh, yeah.
And plus we had overlapping shifts. So there was 30 or 40 of us out there in the division at one time. And here, a city with 100,000 people in it. Yeah. And it's day shift, and it's me. Do you remember Al Nava?
Oh, very well.
And another officer who, Brokoff, who was my FTO initially, and a sergeant, and one other officer. I don't remember who that was. And I was like, this is it for the whole city.
Yeah.
This is it. So
running call to call to call.
Right, going call to call to call. And it was one thing I had to learn, and it wasn't hard to learn on FTO because there wasn't, and I don't mean this to sound arrogant, but there wasn't a lot to teach me at this point except for the policies of Visalia PD.
Yeah, you already knew how to be a cop. We're just showing you the Visalia way.
But I had to learn to be a cop without a partner all the time, which is different because if you have a good partner and you stick with that partner, like I did my last half of training, the last 6 months of your first year, you're with an FTO, but you're not getting evaluated every day, but she's technically still your FTO. I knew what she was going to do. She knew what I was going to do.
Let me ask you this. How long were you at LAPD?
2.5 years.
Okay. And just so the move prompted because you just want to be
I
close
just
to
wanted to
mom
be
and
back
dad?
home. Yep.
Why didn't you go to Fresno PD?
They weren't hiring at the time.
Okay.
LA was going to pay for me to go to the academy. I didn't want to go to college.
I get it.
So I think one of the biggest things I had to learn on training here was to work by myself, not to have somebody in the car with me all the time.
Yeah, no. And, I've often said this, and I don't know if you think this, but I think Visalia does it better than most. I really do. I mean, good vehicles, good equipment, good officers. But you're right, man. There's a lot of times we're just by ourselves. I mean, if your field can clear and get to you, then great. If not, you're right. You're doing a lot of this by yourself. What did patrol work reveal to you about human behavior that no classroom ever could?
Well, when I first started LAPD, it gave me a quick lesson on how humanity was.
Yeah.
Because I think that people that don't get to see what we got to see for all those years, or, I still see it even with the work I do now, is how mean some people are.
For
how, just bad things happen.
I've often said this, and I'm sure you think it. There are evil people on this planet. And a lot of times we had to go toe to toe with evil people.
I agree to a point. My view on that now, doing what I do now, I have a little bit different of an opinion on why people do the things they do and stuff like that. But I think, learning that people are out for themselves, people are out to, survive basically, however that is, was hard for me at first because I grew up in Fresno with a loving family, went to Bullard High School, which is kind of known to be one of the uppity high schools in Fresno, and here I am, this little white boy learning how society and humanity really is.
I don't, and I've said this many times, and people are shocked when I say this, but there's a lot of truth to this. I was born white, raised black, drive German, dress Italian, you know what I mean? And I grew up in bad neighborhoods. And for whatever reason, at the time, I hated it because, obviously poverty sucks. I don't care who you are. But I look back on those times were invaluable to me because once I got to the streets, I'd already been in a lot of fights. I wasn't scared to go toe to toe with people. And I think, and I'm sure you saw it too, training new cops. I mean, when I would train new officers, one of the first things I would say is, have you ever been in a fight? It would shock me that these cops would tell me no.
Right. I was one of those cops. I had never gotten in a fight until, I got in a lot in LA. I mean, that was a daily occurrence down there.
Yeah.
And I had a lot here too, but that was,
Yeah, no, it's so true. I think, and I don't know if you think this, but we get to see, because I tell people you can look at it on TV, you can read it in the newspaper, but man, when you're there and you're experiencing this stuff, I know we've both had calls where we walk away just going, did I really just see this? You know what I mean? And it is intense. And I think, when I see people that want to disrespect police officers, I get really pissed off because I'm like, listen, you don't realize the emotional toll that this job takes on people. And me and you've seen multiple homicides, plus all the sex crimes we had to work and all these other things. Dude, it's not all fun and games out here. And the final analysis of all of it, it's really a mind fuck to everybody, every cop that I ever knew. And I know you think that as well.
I do. But I think a lot of those thoughts always happen afterwards.
For sure. In the moment, you don't have time.
In the moment, you're the hero. And then, 2 hours later, you're thinking, what the hell did we just do or have to deal with?
Oh, yeah.
That was terrible.
I had this ritual. I would get ready the same way every day. Shower, uniform went on the same way. And that's how I transitioned from Jay to Officer McWilliams. When I would get home, I had this thing. I would go and I'd sit in the bathtub for about 30 minutes. And there was multiple times where I sat in that bathtub and cried. Or just sitting there staring off into outer space going, did I just see this? You know, I don't know if you had similar things, dude. You know?
I did, maybe not to that extreme, because I feel like I compartment. I set things aside real easily and kind of erase them from my head. But I think I have more of those thoughts now, looking back at things.
Sure.
And I have a lot of those thoughts now with the work I do.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm, when we get to it, I'm dealing with people's lives that have messed up.
Big time.
And sometimes there's no going back from those mess ups.
Yeah, no, I agree. As a field training officer, you were responsible for shaping brand new officers. What did that responsibility teach you about mentorship and leadership?
It was hard at first. Well, I don't want to say it was hard. It was difficult because my expectations were always too high. I expected them. They needed to be me.
Yeah.
Day two. They needed to know what to do, be hardworking, be aggressive, know the law, know what you can and can't do, know what a bad guy looks like, what a bad guy doesn't look like. So I think the hard part for me was lowering those expectations and having to learn how to teach that and instill that in someone. I wish I knew what I knew now back when I was an FTO.
Oh, yeah.
Because I would be 100 times better than I was.
Dude, I was a field training officer, and you know what my Achilles heel is? Patience. I didn't have the patience.
I don't know.
And I look back on it now, and I'm like you. There's just times, a lot of times, I don't know about you, I just take over and be like, all right, watch me. You know what I mean? And that's not good for training people, because people need to learn how to do this stuff. There's no guru of law enforcement. We all learn. People learn differently. There's guys like me and you. We pick up on it easy, and it becomes second nature. There's a lot of people, man, and I know this. And we have to almost drag them along. For the folks at home, here's one of the biggest problems in being a field training officer. If you've got an officer that's getting it, it can be fun. It can be really fun. But when you're getting somebody that doesn't get it, it can be gut-wrenching. And there was many times where I'd be like, hey, pull into this parking lot. And there were some times I had to have those serious talks, and I know you did too, where I was like, I don't know if this work is for you, because you're too trusting. And it's one thing if you're going to get your own head blown off, but worse than that, you're going to get mine blown off. And, and I respected people that came in and went like, hey man, this is not for me. Because I think people watch it on TV and they get this connotation in their head. And then when they get out here, it's a whole different ball game. And it's a lot of responsibility, especially if we take a 21, 22-year-old kid and go, here's all this responsibility, handle it.
Right. And one of the last trainees I had before I left, she was struggling a little bit, but we were working day shift, get dispatched to a domestic where a guy's allegedly waving a knife at his girlfriend, wife, and there was no fill units available. So I'm like, we got this.
Yeah.
She'll be all right.
Are you bothered by leg veins of any size, or is leg swelling or pain bugging you or someone you know? I would recommend that you make an appointment with our friends at Sequoia Vein and Wound to take care of it. With a friendly bilingual staff and their years of experience, they are happy to help resolve those issues. Give them a call to get a consult at 559-713-6478 and tell them that Jay Mac sent you.
So we go to this call, we walk in the door, and the wife's like, he's in the bedroom. So I walk over to the bedroom. I kind of take charge at this point because I know we don't have a backup unit. And I look over my shoulder, and the female trainee is still at the door. And here's the guy in the bedroom with a knife in his hand. So I draw down on him, tell him to get on the ground. And next thing I know is the wife is on my back because I'm pointing my gun at the guy that's trying to stab her with a knife. And the entire time, my trainee is at the door.
Oh yeah,
totally frozen. She resigned the next day.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an example of what we had to deal with.
Yeah. And you know what? I know I used to tell, especially females, I said, if you see me rolling around on the ground with some guy fighting, you better get your skinny ass over there and jump right head first into it. But you're right. I just think there's some people, and I've seen it, vapor lock. They just lock up. They don't want to say anything. They don't want to do anything. You're right. They just space out.
Right. And I want to clarify something though. That wasn't just because she was a female. I had male officers do the same thing. Oh, yeah. And I've had female trainees that kicked butt. That was just an example I wanted to use.
I always say that, you know what? I think that, back when I started doing Vice APD, we were dumping 50% of our trainees. And I think it got better. Now they got that time in the classroom. I think that helps with report writing and whatnot. Your time on the DUI team earned you the Mad California Hero Award. What moments from that assignment stay with you?
Wow. That was an interesting year. I think that the year I got that award was one of the first years they started doing that award, because I know they do it regularly now, because I see on the press releases the officers get their little pins and everything. I was always an aggressive cop, pulled a lot of people over, so the DUI team was perfect for me. Doing a lot of traffic stops. I think I had like 87 or 88 DUIs the year I won the award.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of deuces.
It was a lot.
And for the folks at home, DUI is a lot of work for a misdemeanor crime, because you got the report, then you got the admin per se, then you got to take their license, then you got to tow the vehicle. I mean, it's not just one piece of paper. It's a lot of work for a misdemeanor crime.
Right. And it's very technical. So, any officer can do a DUI from the training they got in the academy. But when you got put on the DUI team, we went to a school for a week to learn DUI better. But then right before I left, they had sent me to DUI instructor school so I could start teaching at the department. And that was a tough school, because you're learning the ins and outs of how alcohol affects you, measurements, scientific stuff that I'm like.
I went to the one in Woodland Hills. Okay. Is that the one you went to? Yeah. Yes. So, and for the folks at home, I would tell you this. Yeah, he's right. A DUI, once you go to the school, there is. In fact, they even let one of the people in the class get drunk, and then we evaluate them. They even put these cool goggles on him, and it took his eyes and it put it up on this big screen, and you could just see how the alcohol really affected him. And it makes you 10 times better at DUI once you've been to that school, because there is a lot of technical information that goes into a report that a lot of people don't realize.
Right. I think one thing too, doing all those DUIs taught me was patience. Yeah. Because you and I both know dealing with somebody who's intoxicated.
Oh yeah. It's not
always fun.
It's not.
And you have to be very patient and not lose your cool with those people.
Yeah.
So that's another thing it taught me. But the craziness that you would see. Like one day there was an accident at the end of St. John's and Lover's Lane where the car was in the tree of the house. And it was a 16-year-old kid in the driver's seat still, and stuff like that. I mean, you just see crazy things happen.
I would tell you this, I've worked some really, really bad DUIs. I mean, I remember we had a gal that blew like a 4. That's 4.0.
I had a guy one night blow 0.28, and I was going to let him go because he passed everything. And I'm like, maybe we should have him blow on the pass, and he was a 0.28. And I'm like, okay, alcoholic.
Yeah. And that's just it. And so for the folks at home, like a 2.8, a 4, most people would probably be dead. But these people are alcoholics, and they've built up a tolerance to the booze. And so it affects them different. I'm like you, man. I mean, I work some where you're just thinking, how are you even driving a car this drunk? You know what I mean? What made you pursue becoming a DUI instructor, and how did teaching change the way you saw the profession?
Well, at the time, I was already an RTO at the academy. I was already an FTO. So teaching was already...
At the COS Academy?
Okay. Yeah. So I would, they would rotate us. I think there was 4 of us at the time from the department, and every Tuesday we rotated, and it was an RTO. And I was one of them. So I always enjoyed teaching. I think the instructor part, they just picked me. At the time, I had just won that award. And I forget what lieutenant was in charge at the time. Said, do you want to go? We needed an in-house instructor. You want to go? Sure.
Yeah.
Education.
And you know what, man? I would tell you this, for anybody who does, I mean, I've done a lot of DUIs, and I know you have too, but, it's like, again, I think there's some people, it's just a calling that they want to do it. And, because I mean, after a while, especially when we were working swings, we'd have 2 or 3 DUIs at night, you know, and I've always been really big on getting people for under the influence of meth. That was my jam. So I was more 11-550 versus DUI. But, you know, I always say that at the end of the day, any officer that can take people off the street that are schnockered, then I want that person not driving, because we've all seen people get killed by the DUI driver, and it sucks.
Right.
You spent time as a youth service officer. How did working with young people reshape your understanding of prevention, trauma, and second chances?
So I was only at a school for 3 months, but it was a crazy 3 months.
Yeah.
Funny story. So I took over at Valley Oak Middle School. The officer that was there before maybe was not as aggressive and attentive as I was going to be.
Yeah.
So my first day on the campus, there's a fight. I throw 3 kids. I pull my car in the middle of the quad area, throw 3 kids in my car, drive them to juvenile hall.
Yeah.
Fast forward to my defense work, and I had a case at a prison where I had to go interview some witnesses that were now at the California Men's Colony. And I go to interview this kid or this witness, and he goes, "Do you remember me?" I said, "No." He says, "I was one of those kids you threw in the back of the car at Valley Oak."
Love it.
Back in there, I go, "Well, I clearly didn't teach you anything." But you know, dealing with the kids, trying to set an example for them. I was always an Explorer advisor. I was becoming an Explorer advisor at that point. I was an Explorer for a long time, so that you know that program has a special place in my heart. So getting to teach young kids and kind of shape them to what they, you know, how law enforcement is and how they should run their lives and stuff like that was important to me. Dealing with the parents was a whole different thing. That's probably what ruined it the most, being a school resource officer. Is if or youth service officer here, you would yell at a kid and 3:30, the parents are in your office yelling at you for yelling at the kid.
Yeah. I would tell you something. So talking about the California Men's Colony, I get a call from one of the COs over there, and he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "I'm with a guy here named Bryan Pinto."
I remember that.
It was a guy named Mike McCullough.
Yep.
And guess what? He just retired from CDC. So this episode will be dedicated to Mike McCullough. Congrats. He did like 28 years as a CDC officer. So good for him. As an Explorer advisor, you were twice awarded Advisor of the Year. What did guiding young people teach you about hope?
That kids can grow up to be something special, that my work and the fellow advisors that were in charge of that program at the time, Sharon Brown, Joel Arjona, people like that, we put our time and effort into these kids, and they were winning awards at competitions. They were getting to experience ride-alongs. They were getting to experience things that I got to experience when I was a teenager as an Explorer.
Yeah.
And for me, that was an award that was voted on by the Explorers, and I won it 2 years in a row, and that made me feel very special.
That's cool. And you know what? Cool. And I will tell you something. There's a lot of those Explorers that went on to become cops, which is great, you know. And, you know, I've talked about this on other episodes, but, you know, it's like you would walk in, like I would, you know, I was never an Explorer advisor, but I would walk into those rooms and see those kids, and you could almost go, he's going to be a cop. He's going to be a cop. I mean, there were some squared away kids that became some phenomenal cops.
I have one of my former Explorers is one of my investigators now.
Okay.
I had another one that was an investigator for me for a little while before he decided to do something else. I've kept in contact with a lot of the kids from back then.
And that's awesome,
most of them have become.
That's awesome.
Yeah, very successful.
What are 1 or 2 moments from patrol that truly changed you of the person you are today? Because I got some. I know I got some tough ones.
Yeah,
man.
There's some tough ones. I think one was a shooting I witnessed. My first officer involved shooting. I was not the shooter, but I was down in LA, and an officer and 2 other officers and us got dispatched to a call, and it was a man with a gun, and we get there, and a very young looking man is pointing a gun at the officers, and one of the officers shot and killed him.
Yeah.
It ended up being a fake gun.
Oh, wow. Which we don't know that.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
That.
Yeah.
So, and he was 14.
Oh, wow.
So having to deal with that because the officer that was involved in the shooting was immediately taken out of the situation, and having to deal with the parents and telling them what happened because they heard what happened because they were inside the house, and having to deal with the ramifications of all that.
I'm sure the neighborhood went ballistic.
Right. And I was 22 years old at the time.
Yeah.
So I was young and having to deal with all this. And from that moment forward, I think dealing with death and having to do death notifications or dealing with the ramifications of any kind of death we have had to deal with, whether it was a homicide, a traffic accident, suicide, was tough.
Oh, dude, they're gut punches. They're horrible.
So I think that one, being so young, was a reality check for me of what I was doing now for the rest of my career. Another one was my first baby death, where I showed up and the baby wasn't breathing and I had to do CPR before paramedics got there. I mean, stuff like that I don't not forget.
Oh, yeah. I don't know about you. Does this happen to you? For me, I'll be doing something and I don't know why this happens, but out of the blue, some call will just flash before my eyes that I was at. And I don't know why that happens. And I don't know why my mind does that. And I just, I've just chalked it up that this is probably going to be the way forever. But does that happen to you where one day you're just driving down the road and all of a sudden it just pop in your mind?
Does.
Yeah.
When I'm here in my current Visalia office and I, driving around the city when I'm working on a case and I remember things that happen at certain intersections. And it's stuff I hadn't thought about in years. And I'm like, oh, wait, that happened right there.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff doesn't leave you.
Can you talk about the moment or the series of moments that led you to leave law enforcement?
So it's common knowledge I was accused of some stuff that was resolved and came back to had to have a lawsuit to come back to work.
How much money did you get from that?
We're not going to talk about that. I came back to work for a few years and unfortunately I'm going to classify it as this. My gay personal lifestyle is different than what Visalia is used to.
Yeah.
And I was hanging out with people that I probably should have known better to hang out with off duty.
Yeah.
And that, exposed me to false allegations.
Yeah.
So some stuff happened. Colleen Mestis, who's one of my closest friends and one of my biggest mentors now, fired me from Visalia PD. And at the time I had a attorney that was representing me who told me, why don't you become a private investigator? Be my investigator. I will make you more money and you will have more work than you can handle in your first year than you ever did as a cop.
What attorney was that?
Melina Benninghoff.
Oh, she recently passed away.
She recently passed away. Yeah. She was my mentor. She officiated my husband and I's wedding.
Good for
her.
She
was super close with,
I only got to meet her that one time when we were at the conference.
Right.
And that's the only time I met her, but seemed like a nice lady. I will tell you this, and I've talked to Colleen often, and she's cool. I mean, she's had to rip my ass many times at the PD, but I love her, and I know you do too. And I can tell you this. I remember during all that time, I hated to see it because number one, I liked you. But number two, it's like this. I knew all the stuff that was getting thrown around. I remember thinking, I don't know if he's going to survive this. You know what I mean?
Right. I think what I learned is I was young at the time and making poor off-duty decisions.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then she fired me. And then she harassed me a little bit for not fighting my firing. But now, Colleen and I have traveled the world together since she's been retired. I thank her on a monthly basis for firing me because of where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And she's been a real important confidant of mine. I run stuff by her all the time, dealing with what I'm dealing with now in the defense world. And she gives me her law enforcement point of view and current.
Well, I'll tell you something. And, number one, she's wicked smart. There's no doubt about that. Highly educated, highly credentialed woman. But I'm like you. There's times I've called her on many things and, she'll talk to me and it's the same stuff, man. And, I've often said, I think as far as chiefs go, she probably had the most personality of any chief I ever worked for.
She has some of the biggest personality of anybody I know.
Oh, big time.
In a good way.
Yeah,
In a good way.
she does. I mean, she used to laugh. She was good to talk to, but she did not want to get on her bad side. That's for sure.
Right.
What were your biggest misconceptions about defense investigations before entering the field?
Ooh. Okay, so my point of view on why people commit crime and why people do the things they do has changed.
Okay.
So when I was in law enforcement, and I don't know if you felt this way, but if somebody committed a crime, screw you. You shouldn't have made that decision. We're going to lock you up. You had choices. You know better.
100%.
You're going to jail.
100%.
So getting into getting into criminal defense work, one of my first cases was actually a death penalty case. And that was with Miss Benninghoff. And I said, are you sure you're ready for me to work a death penalty case already? Because part of that defense investigation is you're defending the crime itself, but you're also presenting what's called a mitigation investigation.
Oh, yeah. You're going back through their, and for the folks at home, mitigation, we got to go back into their childhood of we'll go talk to
grandparents,
coaches, moms, teachers, all that. Yeah. Right. And back when we started, that didn't happen. Later on in life, then I realized what mitigation was. But,
right.
Yeah.
So doing that for the first time and learning my client growing up in poverty, both of his parents were criminals. I mean, he was witness to crimes when he was 6 years. He didn't know any better. This is who he was going to be.
Yeah.
Because this is who he was raised to be. And that changed my perception. Yeah. Not all the time. There are evil people in this world.
Oh, for sure.
I've represented a couple evil people.
Yeah.
That didn't, this is just who they were, just evil. But a lot of my clients, this is just who they were going to be because they had poor upbringing. Their whole family, generations in their families are criminals. They don't know any better.
And you know what? And I can see that. And I think for lack of a better word, I think I've softened as I've gotten older.
Yeah, you had to when you worked for me for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Soften up a little bit.
Yeah, because my whole thing is this. You're right, and I think that's why defense work is probably not my calling because I'm more like I want to take criminals off the street and I want to put them in jail. I know you think that there's people that need to be taken off the street because they are bad people. I think some people, not all people, I think with a little bit of help can go on to be good people.
What I tell people is this, because, I joke and say I went to the dark side. It's not the dark side.
It's not.
But what I tell people is I've been accused of things.
Yeah.
And if you're accused of something, you want the best people surrounding you to represent you.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people. We're giving them the best. I mean, I work for 30 attorneys at this point. They're all great attorneys.
Yeah.
And they trust me with their investigations, and we're the team that's going to try to help this person who maybe or maybe not screwed up and get them out of the situation they're in.
Yeah, because you do a lot of stuff here in town. John Jackson, you work for him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Best attorney in Tulare County, in my opinion.
Yeah. He's always done I've never heard anything bad. Many former officers are shocked when they cross over to defense. But what surprised you the most about that work?
I think that's a tough one. Probably one of the biggest things that surprises me is the lack of responsibility or the lack of understanding by the client of what damage and what things they have done.
Yeah.
Kind of the carefree, the no care about humanity.
I don't know about you, but here's something that happened to me, and this kind of surprised me. I write good paper. You write good paper. I was shocked at the reports I would get from law enforcement. And for lack of a better word, on a scale from 1 to 10, I had to give it a 2 because I've never seen a 1. These were horrible reports.
So law enforcement has changed.
Yeah, but I would tell you something. That shocked me. Number 2, going and talking to these people in the jail, talking to our clients. I would be like, I'm your PI. I'm here to help you. Tell me what happened. Really tell me what happened so I know what to attack. and they would all lie.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I would just be like, wait, dude, I'm not the cops.
Right.
I'm here to help. Every single one of my clients lied. And then when I would catch them in the lie and come back with the info and be like, why did you lie? I think a lot of these people, they lie because they don't know how to do anything but lie. I don't know if you feel that.
No, I do feel that. I mean, that at first that was a problem.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 16 years now. So
Yeah.
I've learned the speech I give to my clients to basically say, everything you're telling me is protected under attorney-client
for
privilege.
sure.
You can tell me you have 5 bodies buried in your backyard. I can never testify against you. I can never tell anybody that. And that's kind of changed. I had to relearn how to talk to people. Because talking to somebody as a cop and then going in and trying to talk to somebody as their
Yeah, you have to soften big time.
Big time.
Yeah, because
big time.
As cops, and for the folks at home, here's the thing about cops. When somebody would talk to us in law enforcement, after we've Mirandized them, this side of my brain was like, great, they're making my job easier. This side of my brain was like, you dumb son of a bitch, why are you talking to the cops?
Right.
Right? And it's like, and then you just realize it's like I would talk to my clients in jail and I'm like, why did you talk to the cops?
Right.
Well, I thought I could talk my way out of it. And I'm like, with every word, you're putting another nail in your coffin.
Right. Even if you're 100% innocent, shut up.
Yeah. And that's why he said, tell these guys. I had a client in jail rode a kite to the shot caller, copping to a murder. And guess who found it? The deputies, right? And I would like, dude, what more can I tell you to keep your mouth shut? And none of these people in here are your friends.
Right.
And I don't know, man. But the whole defense thing shocked me. One day I may come back to work for you, but I'm kind of slowly but surely softening.
Right.
But I will tell you something, man. I couldn't wrap my head around a lot of the stuff that these people do.
Right.
And then you're right. No accountability. A lot of these people, even when they have killed people or they have, sexually assaulted somebody, they don't even want to say it, Wasn't me. We show them a video of them. Yeah, it's not me. It's not me.
That's happened a few times. Isn't that you on Ring Doorbell? But going back to your law enforcement thing, when I started my master's degree at Arizona State and now my doctoral at Walden, focused a lot on law enforcement. I've written a lot of papers on criminal justice and the way the system works, but getting reports nowadays where officers are using slang in their reports.
Oh yeah.
Supervisors are signing off on these reports, misspellings. Terrible reports. When they show up to court now, that sometimes they're just in their, khaki BDUs and a shirt, or they're in their SWAT gear or whatever coming to court. It's not the same back as when we first started.
Yeah.
You had to wear your Class A uniform. You had to wear a suit. Tulare County still does it pretty good. Visalia PD always looks really good in court, but in Fresno and other jurisdictions that I work, it's the respect for the profession, for the people that are in it, is not the same, in my opinion, not the same with the new generation.
100%, dude. Hey, listen to this. I was just downtown. I saw a Visalia PD officer that had the longest hair I've ever seen in uniform. His beard was crazy, out of control. And then he had full-blown tats, like full sleeve tat showing. And back when we started, dude, they would have ripped you into the office. Yep. They would have told you, go get a haircut, shave off that thing, and get a sleeve to cover your tat. I think we should be more professional. I could tell you this. One of the sergeants here in town, very squared away dude. Me and him were talking about it one day. And this is how he described it to me. They've had to soften up because they got to do whatever they can to get people now, dude. And, they're having a hard time even keeping up with just retirements, the attrition, And then you look at, Visalia, it's not going to be long. They're going to be pushing 200 cops. Yep. It's getting big. Look at Fresno. Fresno should have 1,200 cops. Yep. I don't even think they're 900.
Nope, they're about 500 short.
It's horrible. And, people don't realize, when I was with Amtrak, my office was downtown Fresno. Dude, that downtown Fresno, that's a rough. I was in fights every day with all those homeless people, How did founding Central California Investigations change your life, both personally and professionally?
So it was a big life change for me.
Yeah.
Going from working for the man, reporting to duty, getting your regular paycheck because that's what they owed you for your hours you worked. And now here I am, have no clue how to run a business. Don't know the laws, don't know, what do I got to, create this business. I'm going to be a business owner now. So I had to get a lot of advice from people, and I hired some consultants and started my business and made it into a corporation. The biggest thing that I've learned is it's a lot of responsibility.
It is.
If I don't work, I have employees now, but initially it was just me. And if I don't work, I'm not making money.
Yeah.
And if I want benefits, I'm gonna have to pay for my own benefits. If I want retirement, I have to be disciplined enough to set up my own retirement plan and put money into a retirement. I got lucky when it comes to benefits. I mean, I married a nurse.
Okay, so you don't have to worry about the medical benefits.
Amazing medical benefits.
Yeah. So he works at a hospital.
Yeah, he's in the ER downtown in Fresno at CRMC.
Okay.
So that helped, but the responsibility of now having employees and making sure I'm following all the California laws, which, as we know, California is not the best state to be a business owner.
It's not, and every year there's just another set of laws coming down the pike.
Right,
yeah.
and there's even a section in the Business and Profession Code specifically for private investigating companies that have employees. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't be a contract employee. They actually have to be my payroll employee. So learning all that and having the responsibility of managing the business, but then also trying to figure out, how do you advertise? How do you grow? How do you do that? I've gotten lucky. I've never one time paid for advertising or anything. I've grown by word of mouth from the people I've worked for, because apparently I do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
So they've put my name out there, and more people have used me. So it's a lot of responsibility, though. Financially, best decision I ever made.
Yeah.
And professionally, I'm proud of what I've done now. And I'm still growing. I would tell you this,
man. I brought your name up one time to some cops in Fresno, and I let them know, hey, I used to work with Bryan. I know Bryan, and one of them said this. They said, I think he's the premier investigator in Fresno, and that's coming from a guy you probably don't even know, right? And so for somebody to say that to me, at the time I was with Amtrak when he said that. And I told the guy, I'll agree with that. I said, I don't hear about any other PI in Fresno but you. I mean, I know there's other guys up there, but you're the guy that I hear about. I hear about you more. Also, you do something that's pretty cool. When you guys get a case, I love how you take that little red thing and not guilty across the front page of the report or the indictment, right? And so I think whatever you're doing, obviously it's working, and I think you're right. I mean, I've never heard this. He's a shitty investigator, or he botched this, or he botched that. Everything I always hear is good. So whatever it is you're doing, keep doing it, you know? What does it take mentally, emotionally, and operationally to run an investigative agency at the level you do? How many employees you got now?
5 employees. This year we set a case record. We had 330 cases this year. And we cover Fresno, Tulare, Kings, Madera, Merced, and I do federal cases. So, and I have some off the wall cases in like San Luis Obispo and Ventura County and a couple other places. But managing that caseload is a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's different than the law enforcement caseload. Because it's your responsibility. You don't have to report to anybody. The attorneys are expecting you to handle this stuff. You're dealing with a client. You're dealing with whatever they're accused of, and you're dealing with the client's family, which oftentimes is very emotional.
Yeah, because they're looking at they don't want their family member to go off for the next 25 years, and
Right. So it's a lot. I mean, I tell people I don't really ever take a day off, even on the weekends when I'm home.
You're working a case.
I'm doing admin stuff. I got to do payroll. I got to do billing to the counties. I got to do, that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of work.
Now, somebody told me that Fresno County is now paying more. What are they paying an hour
for court-appointed
yeah.
stuff, they're paying $65 an hour.
Okay.
Which is, it's not bad. The feds pay the best. When it comes to court-appointed work, I take private cases as well.
Is Tulare County, did they finally take a little pay raise here?
$50 an hour now.
50, okay. Yeah. And see, and for the folks at home, that's tough because here's the thing. In my PI stuff right now, I charge $116 an hour, and I'm sure you charge even more than that.
Double that.
Yeah. And, because you're working, I mean, death penalty stuff, and hey, God bless you.
Big stuff.
But, I mean, I tell people, and, I've had people call me, hey, can we negotiate down to $20 an hour? And I'm like, hey, you want my expertise? I don't work for minimum wage,
Right, that doesn't even pay for your gas to drive to go see them.
It doesn't. And when did you first take on a murder case as a defense investigator? And what did you feel when you realized how high the stakes were? Because that's a big thing.
It was my third case that we talked about earlier, and it was a death penalty case. And it was an in-prison offense. The guy had already been in custody for a murder and allegedly killed his cellmate at Corcoran.
Was that the one thing we chopped the head off?
No, but I had that case too. But that was down the road.
Yeah,
I'm not on that case anymore. And that case isn't over yet, so
I can't really
talk about it, even though I'm off that case. Thank you that I'm not that case. But it was hard because, even though I knew at the time, we're in California, you can be convicted of the death penalty, you're never going to be put to death.
Yeah. They don't even have death row now.
They don't. They've spread all those inmates out to the different prisons.
I don't know if you saw, but Givens from here, they took him off death row, put him on mainline, and he just stabbed somebody to death.
That incident is actually related to a federal Aryan Brotherhood case I have right now, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay.
It was tough because we had a very difficult client. He did not want us to do the mitigation work because he didn't want his family to have to talk about how bad his childhood was and how bad the family was and stuff like that. And that client actually, this one sticks with me because right before we were going to go to trial, that client committed suicide.
Oh.
And it was right after Corey Sumter worked that case with me when he first became an investigator. We were both on it. And it was right after we did all the mitigation work and he just didn't want to deal with it. And he hung himself in a cell at Corcoran. That was tough because, you get to know these people, even though, they've been accused of some bad things. But you get to know these people. They are human beings. There's clients that if they got out of prison today and wanted to go have a beer, this might sound bad, but I'd go have a beer with them because I've gotten to know them,
I tell you something, man. I worked my third day on the job at Tulare County. I had to deal with a hanging in a cell. And, it's hardcore, man.
Right.
Well, I am a master storyteller, so I got a story for you. All right. So I have been asked about this case in public more than anything ever. And I was recently asked about it, and I finally said, tune into the episode. I'm going to debrief this whole thing for you so you can hear it right from my mouth. Local business owner owned a transmission shop. Okay. Now, the backstory is this. He lived next to my dad when I was a little boy. And even though I wasn't around, him and my dad were tight. He would go and work on cars with my dad. Later on in life, he was he had a lot of money, and he was very tight with Brent Abbott's dad, Steve, right? And Steve was a local law enforcement officer. And in fact, the longest running cop in Visa's history, 37 years, beginning to end. But they were tight. They used to do 3-gun competitions together. And this guy was deadly with a rifle, deadly with a shotgun, and deadly with a pistol. I mean, he was a damn good shot. In fact, he would make his own magazines for his gun. And he had a Super 38. He was the first guy I ever seen with a red dot on a gun. He's done a half a dozen ride-alongs with me. Me and my wife used to go have dinner with him and his wife. I mean, we were friends. Over the few years that led up to this incident, we had kind of lost track because he had gotten kind of addicted to painkillers and he was a drunk. He got attacked at Santa Fe Station. Some guys, they put his leg actually on a parking block, jumped on it, broke his leg. Big man, though, 6'2", 300 pounds, used to be a big bodybuilder dude. But anyways, I'm the officer in charge of Mooney Boulevard, and I get sent to the Schwinn shop for a guy creating a disturbance inside the Schwinn shop. So I pull up, get out. As I'm trying to walk into the Schwinn shop, this large man opens a door and hits me with the door hard. And it pushes me back. I recognize it as our buddy. And I'm like, hey, man. I go, what the heck, bro? And he's talking to me, and he's not drunk, but he's lethargic. And there had been a lot of rumors around town that he'd gotten addicted to painkillers. And kind of thick-tongued, and I could kind of tell something's off. So we go into the Schwinn shop. The Schwinn owner goes, hey, man, he didn't really commit a crime in here, but he's being loud. He's being disruptive. I just want him out of here. And I go, fair enough. They were neighbors. And so I said, hey, so I tell the guy that owns the muffler shop, I said, he goes, I'm going to drive out of here. I go, if you get in the car, you're going to go to jail for DUI. I said, you don't not to be driving. I go, I'm going to give you a ride home. The neighbor goes, leave me his keys and I'll drive the car home for him. So I tell the muffler guy, is that okay? He goes, yeah, that's cool. Well, the muffler guy starts getting a little pushback. He's like, I'm not going to jail. And I said, well, don't start talking that. I go, I'm going to give you a ride home. Now, I look back on this now. I did not pat him down to put him in the car. It would be the same thing like if I were giving you a ride home. I don't think I would pat you down because we've known each other for so long. I'm not going to expect you that you want to blow my head off. So I'm driving him home, and he pulls out his cell phone, and he's showing me all these naked photos of his current girlfriend. And I'm like, I don't want to see this stuff, dude. And I'm like, so we get to his house. He lives very nice house over there by Court Park, $500,000 house at the time. Big old beautiful home. And he's like, come on in. I got this new 308 I want to show you. He was all into AR-10s. And, for the folks at home, an AR-10, that's a 308. It'll go through our vest, us, keep going. It's a nasty weapon. But he's like, come in. And I'm like, John, I got to go to work. Or muffler guy, I got to go to work. Right? And so finally I said, get the fuck out. I got to go. Okay? So he gets out. I watch him go in the house, shut the door. I drive off. Dude, 1 hour later, and this probably saved my life. Being a busy officer saved my life. I'm booking somebody at the county jail. He calls 911. And he says, I need to talk to Officer McWilliams. And they're like, well, sir, he's busy right now. We'll have him call you back. And he starts crying over the phone to dispatch. So now they're worried about him. So they dispatch a rookie cop. I don't know any of this is going on because I'm fat, dumb, and happy over at the county jail booking somebody. He calls his sister. She does not answer in time. And when she picks up, her answer machine picks up at the same time. It records the whole conversation. He starts telling her, McWilliams disrespected me. When he gets to my house, I'm going to shoot this motherfucker. I'm going to fucking kill this motherfucker. And so she's like, shut up. You ain't going to do nothing. He goes, no, he's fucking dead. Now, again, I don't know this is happening. The rookie pulls up, knocks on the door. Billy Bob answers the door. He's wearing a bulletproof vest. He's got a Super 38 in his hand. He starts coming up. Our officer starts shooting from the bottom. Boom, 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 zips him. One round goes into the stomach. I think one hits him in the chest. The officer retreats. There's a berm in his front yard. He gets behind this berm. Billy Bob goes boom, 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 cranks off 4 rounds, slams the front door. How do you think I feel knowing that I just dropped him off? 1 hour later, I hear shots fired at that address. My heart sinks to my stomach. I'm like, how did this happen? I get in my car, start flying there, rolling code. I get on the radio, be advised, he has thousands of rounds, multiple assault rifles because I'd been in his house multiple times. They mobilize SWAT. We're out there for an hour. We get the place surrounded. He finally realizes if I don't come out, I'm going to bleed to death. So he finally calls 911. I'm coming out. So he comes out. SWAT converges on him. And he's got a Diet Pepsi in this hand. And he's got a cell phone in this hand, or a cordless phone, no shirt on, and this big bullet hole in his stomach. So they take him down. Chief Mestis walks up to me, 2 words. All she said to me was, "God damn," right? And I was like, I didn't know this was going to happen. And I didn't know. I was trying to be a good friend. I was trying to be a good officer. I wasn't trying to make any of this happen. So we go to trial. I have to tell this whole thing on the witness stand. And he ends up getting 35 years for attempt murder on a police officer's firearm. Backstory to that is he also broke the gas line in the house, hoping that they would flashbang the house and blow the house up. So no good deed goes unpunished. We know that in law enforcement. Right. Every time we try to help people, for the folks at home, every time a cop tries to help, normally times it comes back and bites.
Yep.
Thank God the rookie wasn't shot. Thank God nobody was killed. But I've had people give me the evil eye over this, thinking that I had something to do with this when all I was trying to do was be nice.
Right.
And but
you can never second guess decisions you make.
You can't.
You'll do that all day long.
And you don't. And it's like this. It's like I've told people I didn't do anything wrong that day. I was cleared of any wrongdoing because I didn't do anything wrong. How did I know that 1 hour later he would go batshit crazy? Right. I didn't know that, right? All right. When you accept a capital murder investigation, what goes through your mind? Is it the duty, the fear, the focus, or is it something deeper?
I think it's all of those 3 things that you say, but plus knowing my responsibility in a case like that and knowing what the law says we have to do to protect rights of people accused of crimes. It's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of documentation. It's a lot of, if we were in a different state, I think it would be even more difficult because there are states that still put people to death.
Yeah.
So now,
who still does that?
Texas
is one of them.
Florida still does it. Some of the southern states, because you're dealing with a lot of emotion. You're dealing with the emotion of whoever the victim is in the homicide and their family, and all the political pressure that they're putting on the district attorney's office and so on for what they want to have happen to.
Let me ask you this: do you support the death penalty?
I used to. I do not anymore.
Okay.
I don't anymore.
Okay.
But just all that responsibility, it's a heavy burden on both ends as being a part of the process.
I would tell you this, and for the folks at home, people don't realize a homicide investigation. I've literally seen a district attorney with a push cart with 6 binders this big, each one, thousands of pieces of paper for a report. And that's what people don't realize. It ain't a quick thing. It's, I've seen homicide investigations go for a year, and I know you have too.
So I have a case in Fresno, without going into details. It was the mass shooting that happened 6 years ago now that Asian gangs are involved at a football party. We haven't gone to trial yet. Before I went...
Oh, yeah, there's 7 people shot or something?
10 people shot, 4 people killed. Before my office went paperless, I had 12 5-inch binders of discovery in that case.
Yeah. And for the folks that don't discovery, that's the evidence. Right. But I will tell you this.
It's a lot.
It is. It is a lot. And it's like, hey, there just comes a point in time as, you're a highly educated man and so am I. But I'm going to tell you something. You read thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of paper, you're not going to be able to remember every little thing.
No.
You know what I mean? And the best you can do is try to bullet point it out the best you can, but you're not going to remember 6,000 pages of a report.
Right.
Just not going to happen. How does a death penalty case differ from a standard homicide investigation?
There's just more responsibility in a death penalty case. The investigation on both is basically the same. We still do mitigation work on regular homicide cases to present if we need it at sentencing or to present at trial to kind of mitigate the situation. But the biggest difference is just the different laws and different rights that people have when they're facing the death penalty case, and the different responsibilities that the attorneys have, that I have, that we have to do and keep documentation of in regards to investigation.
So just now, for me just spitballing here, now that we don't have death penalty, then it just
we still do.
I mean, we have it, but they're not going to put them to death. So they just ends up being life without the possibility of parole.
I think sometimes
they'll never get out.
Sometimes, so what I've learned, I'll preface this with this. What I've learned big time being on the other side is if you don't think there's politics involved in criminal justice, then you're crazy.
Yeah, big time.
So
there's money involved.
Right, there's money.
There's elected officials.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I think that sometimes there's cases that are bad that the district attorney may file the death penalty case on someone because they just want them to plead out to a life without parole.
Yeah.
They're putting pressure on them.
Do a lot of people do that?
Yes.
Okay.
I just had a case like this. It was on 2020 a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll talk about that.
We are. I got a specific question for
it. So I think that there was some politics behind on that one. We'll talk about in a minute. But I think sometimes, they seek death to put more pressure on the defense because, even though you're not going to be put to death, what happens if a new governor comes in and says, we're going to resume executions in California?
Yeah. And I could see that happen. I think if Bianco wins, I think that could happen, man. I know
we're different politically.
I know. We don't want to go down the rabbit hole of politics in this, but I'm just saying you're right.
Yeah,
it does change with elected officials. As elected officials change, the landscape changes.
And it could change again 4 years after that.
Yes. What is the true weight of being the lead defense investigator when a person's life may hinge on the quality of your work?
There's a lot of pressure there.
Big time.
There's a lot of pressure too if it's someone you know. I had one case. I can talk about it. It was a former police officer who was one of our explorers.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about that?
I was going to say I got a specific thing for that.
So that's a lot of pressure because sometimes we're not, you know what's going to happen to your client.
For sure.
Ultimately, they're going to do some time. It's a lot of pressure having to, walk them through that, try to get the best result possible, but also being there for the family and answering questions for the family. And a lot of, the reality is a lot of the mommy and daddies don't know what their kids have done. They think that their kids are angels. They don't want to lose them forever. And having to balance that and not being able to tell them some things because it's protected with attorney-client privilege. And getting to the biggest thing is getting to know these people. We talked about it before. When I was a cop, you're a criminal. That's what you are.
Yeah.
Now I've gotten to know these people. I understand, not all the time, but I understand a lot of times why they do what they do.
I would tell you something like this. And even when I was doing criminal defense, a lot of times the defendant wouldn't want me to tell the family what really happened or what they said. And then the family's like, that's my son. I need to know what happened. And I'm like, well, then you need to talk to him the next time he calls you or the next time you visit or whatever's going to go on, because he's told me specifically he don't want me saying nothing. And by law, I can't.
You can't. And the family gets frustrated because
big time.
Now their son or daughter is taking a 25-year term in prison. They want to know why, and you can't tell them. I'm like, he's got to tell you.
Yeah. You know what? I used to tell the families all the time, talk to him.
Right.
He'll tell you because it's just illegal for me to do so. What is the emotional toll of living case to case, homicide after homicide? I'm sure that gets, after a while, difficult.
So if I thought about it, it would be difficult. I've become very good at becoming cold to search situations.
Yeah.
So I specialize in two kind of cases. The majority are homicides and sex crimes. I read cases now, and it's terrible things that are alleged. I'm not saying that they've all happened, but there's terrible things alleged. There's terrible things happening. And I just am cold to it now. And I don't know if that's a good quality to have.
It's not, but I would tell you something, for your own mental well-being, it is. And I will tell you this, and I've often said this, I think cops who work sex crimes for a long period of time, I've seen it screw up a lot of cops. Every time I worked a child molestation case, or if I worked a rape case, it's hard on us because we see the devastation to the victims.
Right.
However, with that being said, this is going to shock a lot of people. And a majority of sex crimes that are reported are fabricated.
Yep.
That, I think John Q. Citizen does not realize these things are fabricated. And, when you work your butt off on a case and then you get to the end of it and you realize it was all BS, I used to get very pissed off because it was a lot of work. We want to take people on their face value that they're telling us the truth. But man, dude, because this, if I see a young child that's been molested, I want the suspect to be arrested. I want them held accountable. Same way, if a woman has been raped, I want to see the suspect held to answer for it. But I don't want people going to prison for fabricated shit. And that's the problem.
Right. And it's even worse with the Me Too unit.
Big time.
Now, and just any allegation, and the DA doesn't really have a choice. They have to file the charges.
They do. And I, and I've told some people I've said this in public before, sex crimes are fabricated. I've had some people get very pissed off when I say it, but I always tell people I'm an expert at this shit. So I'm not going to go, I'm not just spouting off some crazy stuff. This really happens.
Right. It does.
Without naming any protected details, what is one investigation, one moment that still lives with you? I'm sure you've worked some gut-wrenching ones.
So there's a lot. I think the most emotional I ever got at the end of a case, and I don't know if you want to talk about it now because you said you had a case.
No, go. You can go ahead.
We had a client who was one of my explorers.
Yeah.
Went into law enforcement here in Tulare County, was in a K-9 unit.
Good kid, too.
Good kid. He was in my wedding. That's how close we are. He's one of my
Is he one of your employees now?
He was short time, but he's a contractor now making probably more money than I'm making. So he leaves the valley to go work on the coast, and they retire his K-9. And he takes his K-9 with him.
And dude, I was in San Luis when this happened, and I used to see him at the jail all the time.
Right. So he's over in San Luis Obispo County, and his dog gets out and attacks two of the neighbors, killing one of them.
Yeah, mauled like an elderly gentleman and an elderly female, right?
Yeah. The gentleman got infections in his wounds and died 3 days later.
Oh.
The district.
Now, I'm glad we're talking about this. Somebody said that the dog had bit him here.
No, that didn't happen.
Okay.
Nope. It was on his arms and legs. DA ends up charging him with manslaughter and a couple other different charges in regards to the mauling of the...
Dude, I had to go out there to the courts because there was people out there with picket signs. Right. I mean, this turned into a big deal. So they sent me and a bunch of cops over there. And, and what's sad is if you knew this kid like we know him, he's a sweetheart of a kid. He's a good kid. Unfortunately, that was a horrible situation. Right. But I think that case ended up being a political thing.
And I was just going to say that. So this case, they filed the charges, and we're getting ready for trial, and we start trial. And this was one case where I'm not bad-mouthing law enforcement, but I'm going to say this. There was a lot of lying by law enforcement in that case. Provable lies. There was a lot of...
And see, that's horrible.
Political pressure put on by the district attorney in that case. And that was with Miss Benninghoff. Melina Benninghoff was the attorney. Here I am with my client, who's not just my client. I've known him since he was 15 years old. He's one of my closest friends. His family, we're all close. So there's a lot of pressure in this case. So working that investigation, we felt pretty confident going in it, but you never know what's going to happen.
It's a crapshoot.
Nobody ever knows at a jury trial.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot.
So we were over on the coast for the trial lasted about 4 weeks. And close up the case, we give it to the jury, and it's right at the end of the day. So we got to come back the next day, and we're stressing out overnight, and we come in, and the jury still doesn't have a verdict.
What was his exposure? What would his exposure be?
It was like 5 or 6 years for the manslaughter or something. At the max, he would have probably never gotten that. He probably would have never gotten prison time in reality, but he was going to have a felony on his record and stuff like that. So the jury comes in to read the verdict. If you knew Melina Benninghoff, she's very emotional. And the jury starts to read the verdict of the not guilties. And Melina starts to cry. Alex is crying. And I don't like to show emotion in front of people. That's probably why didn't talk about earlier, some of the stuff I saw online. I kind of keep all that in.
No, I get it.
And I'm sitting there trying to look the other way, going, all the news cameras there. I'm like, I cannot cry. And I just start crying.
Yeah.
So, because it was important. I knew it was an accident. That's all it was.
Yeah.
It was an accident. And we ended up talking to the jury afterwards. And the jury said, we had our minds made up the first day of trial that this was an accident. This was political.
There was I was going to say, because he never had any intention for this dog to do that.
And what the public didn't know, which came out at trial, is the guy that died picked up a BB gun because he thought the dogs were being mean to the little dog in the front yard and pointed the BB gun. And the dog, unfortunately, probably reverted back to his training and went and attacked the guy with the BB gun.
I would tell you this, and here's the sad part about that. This poor kid, number one, it destroyed his career in law enforcement. There's that. But number two, I mean, there's so many people that just would popping off and say dumb stuff about it. And I'm like, and I had to tell some people, hey man, I know this kid. He's a good kid.
Right.
And you know what? If you think you can control a dog 24/7, you're nuts. But I also think the politics of one city selling a dog to another city, and then I don't know.
He wasn't a working dog over in the coast.
And also too, I was going to ask you this. Somebody said that the dog had a lot of trouble here in Exeter before it went over there. Bullshit. And
yeah. So I was just going to say something now. I forgot.
And what's sad about that is I would tell you something. See, like prime example. I hear all this crazy shit.
Right.
And but when I saw that he ended up being not guilty, I was very happy for him because number one, I don't think he did anything that made that happen. I mean, I guess was the dog in a kennel or no? Or
he was out of the kennel.
Out of the kennel.
He was out of the kennel
In the backyard.
Yeah. So I think the hard thing now, I mean, and I represent
Malinois?
Belgian Malinois. I represent a lot of law enforcement.
Yeah.
Now. And I've been through it, so I know what it's like to be, the news story of the day, and you hear all the stories of what people are saying, and it's like nowhere near the truth of what's actually going on. And I think that that's made me better now when I'm representing law enforcement officers because I know I've been there. I know what it's like. And so many times the politics get involved in stuff that people are accused of.
Well,
and that's one thing I don't miss because I don't have to worry about that. What I do off duty, and I don't do anything wrong, but I don't have to worry about who I hang out with or what what I do, and I don't miss that part of law enforcement. What people don't understand is when you're in law enforcement, you're expected to be this perfect, walk the straight line, live in a glass house, and that's not who people are. People are going to make mistakes. People make poor decisions.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
I would tell you something. I so agree, and like here in town, okay. John Q. Citizen gets arrested for, let's just say, domestic violence. We see John Smith arrested for DUI or domestic violence. That's all people know. Flip it. Police officer John Smith. Dude, now it's a press release. Right. Now it's on the front page of everything. Now it's become this thing, and what it does is it really shows you anything that a cop does, the spotlight just shines that much brighter on that incident. And and it's sad because I know we're held to a higher standard. I agree with that, but however, you're right. Cops do that. They're humans, and humans make mistakes. And just because somebody's a cop, I don't want to see somebody gets hammered more than the average person.
Right.
I think we're entitled to due process like everybody else. I want it to be fair. I want it to be clean. And let's get on down the road.
Yep.
How do you mentally prepare to step into a violent crime scene knowing what you're about to see?
All right, so there's two parts of this because now when I step into a crime scene, it's long done and it's pictures and I'm going back to the scene way after things happen to try to put things together. So that's not that difficult.
But I would tell you this: we both stepped into where the brains and blood is still dripping from the ceiling. That I would tell you this for the folks at home: if you think it's easy, it's not. And I don't know about you, but when we would step into those things and you still got the dead body here and you got the blood and the brains dripping from the ceiling, it gets eerily quiet.
And everything moves very slow.
Yes.
And you're like looking around.
Yes. And I mean, we would step into those things and it had just happened and do the hairs on the back of my neck used to go ding, 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 ding. And dude, even though you got a gun in your hand, you're still like, oh my God, what is and it's a lot to take in. Now you trying to come in after the fact. Now you're trying to piece together what truly happened.
Right. So you mentioned a case earlier about a guy that was beheaded at the prison.
Yes.
So I was on that case briefly. And not briefly, I was actually on it for a while. When I initially got the crime scene photos of that case, I've gotten so cold to those situations. I was working at home looking at those pictures and I was eating my dinner.
Yeah.
As I pop open the screen of this beheaded inmate.
Yeah.
And that's putting it mildly at Corcoran Prison. And I'm just eating away. Like, it doesn't even look real at that point. It looks like a scene from a movie.
I will tell you this. I got to see one of the photographs right after it happened. Somebody screenshotted it, and I think some people actually got in trouble over that.
There was a lot of CDC that got in trouble for that case, yes.
But somebody took a screenshot, and it went from person to person to person to person. So it ended up with one of the parole agents. The parole agent showed it to us. And I tell you something, folks. This cell, it looked like a body had just exploded in the cell. Yep. There was blood everywhere. And the suspect, he looks about half nuts with all those tats all over his face.
Yeah, and he's about 4'8". And
yeah,
he's
yeah,
a real
yeah,
small
yeah.
guy. And
you know what? You know what's sad part? They ain't gonna do nothing to him. They ain't gonna put him to death. I mean, he wasn't gonna get out anyways, and now he'll just, just gonna be what it is. But it's sad, and again, it's sad to see what other human beings can do to other human beings.
Right.
That's probably the tough part. What separates a strong defense investigation from a weak one in your eyes?
I think that you have to set aside personal beliefs in whatever the crime may be. You have to set aside personal feelings and know that no matter what this person did, it's your job to do the best investigation possible. You're never going to hear me say that any of my clients deserve to go to prison. I just don't think that's a good line coming from me from what I do. But I will say that no matter what happens to my client, I want them to always go away with knowing that I worked my butt off to try to help them. You did what you could for them. I tried to mitigate the situation as much as I possibly could. So I think I see a lot of other investigators that do defense work that make comments like, I don't give a shit what happens to my client. I'm just here to make the money.
Yeah.
I think that belief in me comes from going through having to deal with accusations made against you. And
it'll change you.
It will change you. And, I don't think I would sleep well at night, no matter what my client did, if I just half-assed an investigation and said, you know what, I don't agree with what he did. He probably did it. I'm going to sleep good on the money I made. I'm just not going to.
I always say this. I believe in this system. Is the system flawed? 100%. But I believe in the system of this. I think everyone's entitled to due process. I think everyone's entitled to the best defense possible.
Right.
That's what our country was founded upon. That's what the rule of law was founded upon. And I want to see people, if they're going to get their day in court, then I want them to, I want to have that, because guess what? God forbid I ever find myself in that position. You'd be damn sure I want somebody like you on my case, because I want to have the best defense possible. Right. That's what I believe in. I may not believe in the criminal and I may not believe in what he did, but I believe that he's entitled to due process. I do believe in that. And I think our country, we do it better than most. But again, there's no utopia. There's no perfect situation. And all we can do is give people the best we got to give and see what happens. So, how often do you see missed evidence or overlooked witnesses, and what does that say about the system?
Every case I work.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So
that's why I wrote that. That's why I wrote that.
Here's what I'll say. Sometimes things are missed on purpose, in my opinion, and I'll explain that in a minute. I think some things are missed because law enforcement is just overworked and too busy.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of it is. It almost becomes too much work. And I think a lazy investigator can go, we interviewed 3 witnesses, but there's 2 other ones. Screw those other 2. Let's just go with the 3. Even though maybe one of the other witnesses could be the thing that breaks the case.
Yeah.
But
so I'll give you the long-winded answer on that part of it. Is I believe there's some agencies like Fresno, they're going they log on and there's 40 calls holding for service already. So the patrol officers are out there getting the basic information, right? And taking the reports, and they're not maybe interviewing the 4 other people that were also there.
Yeah.
Right? Then it goes to a detective who is the new generation who became a detective 2 years after he became patrol. We talked about this earlier. Yeah. And they don't go out and re-interview these people. So now it's my job to go re-interview these people. Yeah. And it gives sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it gives a completely different viewpoint of what actually happened that day. It may not clear the person accused of what they've been accused of, but it gives a better insight or narrative on what happened. It mitigates it a little bit. It explains it better. Of what happened, right?
I totally agree.
So there's that part of it, but there's the political part of it too.
Yeah.
I just had a big case of a local Visalia man who was accused of murder in Madera County. That was all over the news. Everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
He was accused of a murder up in Raymond. John Jackson and I were hired on that case. They focused on him the entire time when there was all this other evidence pointing to it was somebody else.
Is that case already over and done now?
The cases have been dismissed, so I'm not going to go. It was dismissed, so they have not charged anybody at this point. But on the Friday before trial was supposed to start, we submitted an 80-page report that I wrote on information that they had, but they didn't want to follow up on. I did. That pretty much gave enough reasonable doubt that it was probably not Lenny who did this.
I was going to say, I had heard through the grapevine, and I know you can't say it, but I will. Hey, I heard that there was somebody on a phone call that may have copped to this whole thing.
So there's a lot of information out there that they had their eyes focused on him. He was the rich, white guy that was up there, that it had to be him. And those detectives went all out to try to prove that it was him.
You know what's sad too is, I don't know him personally, but, his family's been part of this community forever. And, you're right, wealthy people. Mm-hmm. And I think that there comes a point in time where I think some of these detectives are like, we're going to take this rich dude down. And so here's what's sad about Visalia. We're still small town, but we're big, but we're still small.
Right.
And so, then you start hearing all the rumors, that Lenny was in this coked out thing and all this stuff and he killed her and all this. And then it all comes out that none of that happened. You know what I mean?
And in any high profile case, that's how it is.
But I'm glad that the truth came out because I do not want to see anybody in prison that didn't do it.
Right.
I think, and this, and I hate to say this, but the system fails sometimes.
It does.
And I think that case was a prime example where if not for your due diligence, it probably would have failed.
Right.
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 And, anyways.
And the other unfair part of the system too is a lot of people can't afford to hire the strong defense teams to defend them.
Oh.
And their case gets assigned to a public defender who has 300 cases and doesn't even remember your name most of the time. And, there's that argument too. That client that we just talked about was able to afford one of the top attorneys in the Central Valley and me, and we worked our asses off.
I will tell you this. It is so funny. I've had a lot of people call me when they get their butt in a sling. Hey, should I hire a lawyer or should I just go with a public defender? And I always tell people this. If you got the money, go get you a paid lawyer. Right? A paid lawyer is going to fight harder for you. Public defender, there's some good people there. I'm not going to disparage the agency, but I think they are underpaid, overworked, and I think things fall through. In fact, if you talk to guys that are locked up, you know what they call public defenders? Dump trucks, because they'll lead you right to the prison. A lot of times.
Right? I will say that I know quite a few really good attorneys that are in Tulare County's public defender's office.
I'm going to say, I'm not going to disparage that.
And they're very good, and they like the work they do. They like to serve the underprivileged people.
Yeah.
So we need people like that. But there's other places where they're just, piled on and they can't focus on the case and they don't have the funding or resources to
so somebody like him that could afford it, it's like I tell people, if you got money, go get the pay lawyer.
Right.
Have you ever uncovered something that completely changed the direction of the whole case?
Case we just talked about. So there was some evidence that, and I don't really want to go into details because they haven't arrested, technically they could rearrest anybody in that case or arrest somebody new. But there was information from a cell phone that was provided to the district attorney that they didn't want to follow up on. So I did. And Friday before trial was supposed to start, case dismissed.
I was going to say, I had heard from around the way, just through stuff like that, hey, something big popped at the last second, and and he walked, and you know what? And good on him, because here's the thing. Again, I don't want innocent people sitting in jail. Right. That is when I think our system truly fails. What is the hardest part of staying objective when emotions, families, and lives hang in the balance?
It's hard. It's hard when you know what really happened.
Yes.
But you can't say what really happened.
Yes.
It's hard talking to clients' families knowing stuff they don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard pre-trial trying to explain to district attorneys or the other side why we shouldn't be doing what we're doing. But we don't want to give that information to them yet because if we go to trial, we need to use that information.
Yeah.
It's kind of a chess game. So it's hard sometimes keeping in what you know really happened and not being able to explain it to people who are upset and mad and angry. And
I had some families rip into me, man. And I'm like, hey, listen, everything that you're being told by your family member is not the way you think it is. And that's how I've told them. I go, no, I can't go into specifics, but I'm just telling you, there's things that I'm seeing and there's things that I'm reading and there's things that are in play that you don't know about. And so before you want to lop my head off, just understand this. Everything is not what it seems.
Right. And the other part of that too is when you develop a reputation like I have and some of the attorneys I work with have, the families of the people think that we're going to save their loved one no matter what. And
you can't save everybody.
Sometimes there's no saving.
You can't save everybody.
The pressure that they put on you to save their loved one when you know there's probably no saving here. We're going to try to mitigate it as best we can and try to get them as the least amount of time possible. But that's a lot of pressure.
Well, I want to tell you this. Technology now has changed the game. And I've seen people get convicted because of door cams, dude. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah. And so I tell people this. It's not like the old days where we could almost, pretty sure he did it. Now we know you did it. And now with everybody with a damn cell phone, you know this, bro, there's so much stuff that comes out that you don't even want to be out, but it's coming out because guess what? Somebody wanted to upload it to YouTube.
So I'll give 3 defense legal advices right now for your viewers. 1, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Don't talk. 2, leave your cell phone at home.
Yeah.
And 3, make sure there's no cameras anywhere.
Yeah.
Specifically ring doorbells.
You know what? You know what's hilarious? My wife loves to listen to like 48 hours and stuff as she goes to bed. That's her like jam, right? A lot of times I'm already asleep, because we've already lived it, right? And so, but she always, in the morning, she always tells me, you know what gets more people? The shoes, the blood splatter on the shoes, right? People don't realize that. And if a lot of people would just get rid of the damn shoes, things would go smoother, but that's not how people think, right? Mm-hmm. And but it's so funny. What people don't realize, your cell phone, it tracks you the whole time.
It's a treasure chest.
It is. It is. And I always tell people, and if you think you had that cell phone, I had it turned off, I'm like, that don't matter. It's still tracking you. It's taking you from cell tower to cell tower. Yep. It's triangulating you. It's showing everybody right where you're at, timestamps, everything.
So don't commit crime, but if you do, leave your cell phone at home.
Don't
on a phone call to your mom.
What is it really like working side by side with defense attorneys on cases where everything is at stake. I'm sure that can be kind of exciting at times.
It is exciting. It's, we hated defense attorneys when we were in law enforcement. They come after us. There's a couple of them that I work with now that came after me when I was a cop on the stand.
I would tell you that there's a bunch of defense attorneys here in town. I hate them now.
Yeah,
you know
but
what I mean?
Some of the best defense attorneys I work with were former prosecutors before that. So one of the things that I really love about what I do now is I've met some of the greatest people, and that have become not only people I work for and work with, but have become lifelong friends. Miss Benninghoff was, officiated my wedding. Her kids call me Uncle Bryan. One of my other closest attorneys just became a judge, and his daughter is interning with me. And, getting to work with these people and seeing how most of them have the same
Was that Roger?
No.
Okay.
I did work for Roger. He
just
became a judge, but that was Jim Trevino in Kings County.
Okay, so I was going to say, I just ran into Roger at a function where I was doing dignitary protection. And he walked up and we started talking, and I said, congratulations on becoming a judge. That's a pretty cool thing. But I said, but I hate to see you leave what you were doing, because he represented cops and he did it damn well.
Very well.
And I think it's not good for the cops out here, because it's going to be hard to really replace somebody of his caliber.
But
He's
it's
a high caliber.
Yeah, something he always wanted. I'm so happy. He's so happy. He's going to be I think he's going to be a very fair judge.
I do too. You know who I just ran into at this same thing was female judge. And, she is another one, Sarah Bratch. You know what I mean?
My Visalia office is her old office when she was an attorney.
And, and I'm going to tell you something. I've always loved her. She's just, you know what? She was always great to cops. I thought she was, she's always been very good at her job. And, but you see these people, when they do make judge, it's great for them and it's great for the system, but it's tough to replace people of that caliber. Right. That's going to be the real conundrum. Have you ever been convinced someone was innocent and had to fight for them?
Yeah, many times.
Okay.
Many times. We've talked about two of the biggest cases recently with the Visalia case and the dog case.
Yeah.
But there's been other clients that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And luckily we either got it dismissed or they were acquitted at jury. But
yeah.
Not a lot, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. That's the company line, right?
Yeah.
But there are truly people out there that have been falsely accused.
Oh, big time. And I would tell you something, and we both have seen people fall for stuff where we thought, well, this stuff that should get filed doesn't, and stuff that you don't think is going to get filed gets filed. And it's
politics.
And yes. At this stage of your career, what does justice truly mean to you?
Justice is whatever outcome comes about, as long as everybody's rights were protected, work was diligently done, and all the evidence and stuff was put out there. The presentation was made, and whatever the jury at that point decides.
Yeah.
As long as everything was allowed to be out there that needed to be out there, then that's justice.
I've chased something, and you know what is tough for me is I hate to see hung juries. And especially when it's one holdout.
We love hung juries.
I know. Yeah, I know. In your side. But on the law enforcement side, and for people at home, a hung jury is this. 11 people say guilty. One person holds out and says not guilty. Or for whatever reasons, refuses to go all in.
The numbers don't always have to be 11 to 1. 7 to 5, whatever.
Yeah. But what it is what I tell people is a hung jury
is a win for the defense.
It's a win for the defense, but it's frustrating. I would tell you something. The Daniel Green case, that was prime example. When that first thing went through and it was a hung jury, we were shocked, right? And thank God they went back and redid it. But, it's like you look at stuff like that and you just think,
well, you got to remember, all 12 of those people have different life experiences, different points of view. And that's one thing, not only do I do investigations, but I sit there at trial, and one of the things I become good at is helping pick a jury.
Yeah.
And I mean, the reality is, depending on what the case is, we have a profile of who we want to be on that jury.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's a game. It's a big poker game.
Well, and for prime example, like if I was to try to be on a jury,
We don't want you.
You don't want me.
Bye.
You're like get him out of here. You know, white, former law enforcement,
Nope.
educated. They don't want that. Get him out of here.
Yeah.
And it's sad because, yeah, there is. I mean, you're right. It's a chess game, and you know, your guys are trying to do what you guys got to do, and
Right.
I understand it. What qualifies someone as an expert in police procedures, and how did you rise into that role?
So obviously my law enforcement experience, being a training officer, you know, teaching a little bit, and then my education.
Yeah.
So my bachelor's degree is in criminal justice, my master's degree is in criminal justice, my doctorate, when I finally finish that damn dissertation, will be in criminal justice.
Yes.
And a lot of the classes we took was police procedure, how to do things, why people, you know, how you're supposed to do things. I go to training as a defense investigator all the time of what the law is and what, you know, what's supposed to be happening out there when crimes are investigated. And because of that knowledge and experience, I mean, altogether now I've been a defense investigator for far longer now than I was in law, or 5 years longer than I was in law enforcement. So 26 years now I've been doing this, 31 if you count my Explorer time.
Yeah.
In the criminal justice field. So I started putting that on a resume and got hired on a couple cases to look at what the police had done on cases, and was asked to see if we get me qualified as an expert. So the first place I was qualified was in Fresno County, and the judge qualified me as an expert, and the DA didn't object to it. And I presented my case of why I should be an expert. And ever since then, I've been an expert on multiple cases in Fresno County, Kings County.
I would tell you this for the folks at home. My resume is, I don't know, let's say 5 pages long. Okay. I had Bryan send me his CV. His CV was 19 pages long. I was looking at this stuff, and I'm not going to lie, dude, I was impressed. You know what? You know, all the associations, all the cases you've worked. I mean, it just went on and on and on and on and on. And finally, I even was like, well, we can't talk about all this shit because we'd be here for 12 hours.
Right.
But I was impressed with your resume. I mean, dude, just to be able to say that you got a resume that's that long.
Well, you know, what I tell people is if you want to learn about something and you want to be proficient in the field you work, you got to get educated.
Damn right.
And I go to every training I can. And the good thing about the defense training is a lot of times it's in Las Vegas.
Oh,
so,
yeah. You guys,
we learn and then we get to have fun, right?
Yeah.
Right? So, I go to every kind of training I can go to. I mean, it's different. I wish I was still at the PD where they paid for your education. Now I got to pay for it out of my pocket most of the time. But, if you want to know and know how things are supposed to be and be the best at what you do, you got to educate yourself.
I would tell you this. I know you had to go through the crucible fire at the PD, but I honestly believe you are where you're supposed to be. I really think that, dude.
I tell myself that every day.
I just think that there's people like you that need to be out here doing this type of work. And, God bless you, man. And
I told you, I thank Mestis every day. Every time I talk to her, thank you for firing me.
Well, it pushed
she goes, where are we going on our next vacation? I'm like, where do you want to go?
It pushed you to
pushed me to something.
What was it like taking the stand for the first time, knowing your credibility would be tested relentlessly?
Are we talking as a defense investigator?
Yeah.
I was nervous that it would be questioned, but my credibility has never been questioned as a defense investigator.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the typical questions from the prosecutor, are you, was your investigation focused on just helping no matter what, helping the client or whatever, on that kind of stuff. But my general credibility has never been questioned.
Good.
And in reality, I don't testify that often as a defense investigator.
Yeah.
I testify more now as a police procedure expert than as a defense investigator. But there are times where our witnesses that we've interviewed change their stories, and I got to get up and up and stuff like
witnesses change their stories?
No,
Say it ain't so.
Yeah.
How do prosecutors typically challenge your testimony, and how do you prepare for that?
The biggest challenge is, well, when was the last time you worked law enforcement? And I say 2009.
Yeah, that's been a minute.
And then they start to challenge it, but then my response is all my education, all the training, continuing education. I mean, even though it's defense oriented a lot on the trainings that I go to, it's still focused on how to do investigations, what should be doing, what the law is, what procedures should be and followed.
I would tell you this,
and I've read, I read a police report once a day at least.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, for guys like me and you, we're both very highly educated. You're probably one of the few people that's come on here that's probably more educated than me. And you realize every bit of education you can get just makes you that much better of a cop. I just think it makes you better as a person. I really do. And, I think that educated people, I think we tend to make better decisions. We tend to be a little bit more level-headed. It doesn't mean that we have to become academic elitist and think that we're better than people, but I just tell people, like in fact, I speak at the college sometimes, and what I tell these kids is this every time. If you want to make yourself powerful, make yourself educated.
Yep.
Right?
So many cops don't get an education, and then something happens where they, maybe they lose their job, maybe they get hurt, and what are you going to do and make that kind of money?
A cop that gets fired in this day and age with no education, you're qualified to go work guard dog security. Yep. And what does the general public misunderstand about police procedures and use of force?
Well, we always hear that line, why didn't he shoot him in the leg?
Oh, yeah. Why did they shoot the gun out of the hand? Yeah.
Or why do you have to wrestle him down to the ground? I think and I even get asked that by some defense attorneys. Why did they do this? Yeah. And that's caused some conflict with some of my really liberal defense attorneys when they're trying to, tell me we need you to testify this way about why they should have done that. And I'm like, no, that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
Right. In that same situation. So I think until you walk in their shoes, until you have a gun pointed at you or you fight somebody or so on, then you're never going to, the public's never going to understand.
No, they don't.
The thought of what's going through law enforcement's head. They're not.
They're not. And I will tell you something. I was a very aggressive police officer, and it saved my life more times than not. And I remember people would be like, you body slammed me. And I'm like, yeah, as you're trying to punch me in my face, right? I go, yes, I body slammed you. Yes, I put my knee in the back of your neck until we got you handcuffed. I remember right after Floyd, people would be like, you put your knee on my neck. I'm like, yeah, I did for like 40 seconds versus 8 minutes and 40 something seconds with Floyd, right? And so but people have this misconception that we can't do that.
Well, and I think the problem now is everything's on video, everything's on 100%. Social media, and what's happened to law enforcement is the bad cops who go one step further after the use of force incident should be over. That's poisoned every use of force incident that happens moving forward.
Oh, big time. I would tell you something. Remember, we're 2,000 miles away from where Floyd happened, right? Yep. And I remember right after that, people were like, why don't you guys go kill George Floyd? And I'm like, hey, bro, this is California. Right. I don't have anything to do with what happens back there. And this, and John Q. Citizen doesn't know this, law enforcement changes when you go east of the Mississippi.
It changes when you leave California.
Yes.
There's no law enforcement in our country that's trained like California.
Yeah, we are the premier law enforcement. But yeah, dude, I was in New Orleans, man, dude. I watched these cops, drive down a road going 20 miles an hour and just hitting people with cars, trampling people with horses, doing all this other stuff that if we were to do this in California, we would have got torched.
Right.
But there's something about law enforcement, deep south, deep east. You get Baltimore PD, LAPD, your big Chicago. Look what's going on in Chicago. Yep. I mean, dude, it's a whole different ballgame. Do you believe expert testimony can shift the mindset of a jury?
Depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Because there's an expert for everything now.
Yes, there is.
And some of these topics that there's people that are experts in, It's not believable. For example, there's an expert that testifies in Fresno a lot, a child sexual assault expert, who basically says no child can ever lie about being sexually assaulted. If they say they were sexually assaulted, they were sexually assaulted.
Not true.
That is bullshit.
That's not true.
Okay?
Yeah.
There's moms that are going through divorces that put stuff in their kids'
Yeah, they
heads
coach the kids.
and they coach the kids,
Yeah.
and now there's allegations made. So I think in police procedure, it gives a perspective. It may not change the mind of the jury, but at least gives a perspective of how things should have been done.
Oh, I get that.
And most of the time, look, I'm not going to bash law enforcement and say they're screwing up all the time, because they're not. But when they do, then somebody who's a police procedure expert needs to come in and say, this is how it should have been done.
I've often said this. Our wins very seldom get put out there.
Right.
Our failures get picked apart
all
in the
time.
media. And, there's all these people who have never worked a day in patrol, but they're social media people, and now they think somehow they're an expert in law enforcement. And how vital is expert testimony in death penalty cases?
I think when it comes to mitigation and explaining the childhood problems or experiences of a client to mitigate why they shouldn't get the death penalty if that were to come up in a trial, I think that's very important.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where there's death penalty cases where the evidence pretty clear that maybe the client probably did the crime.
Yeah.
But
not with video, man. It's hard.
But the expert testimony for mitigation and explaining mental health issues, and that's huge. I mean, mental health is 90% of what I look into now. There's mental health almost in every case I do, because is it overblown? Maybe a little bit, but everybody has issues.
I was going to say, I used to, and I brought this up, and people don't like to hear this. Most of the people that we deal with out here in patrol are either suffering from mental health issues, drug addiction, or alcoholism. And a lot of times it's all three things in the same person. Right. And then they expect us to walk up to these people and go, pretty please with sugar on top while you put your hands behind your back. And it doesn't work. These people, a lot of them have anger management issues. Right. You know what? And this is a bold statement, and people aren't going to want to hear this, but it's true. A lot of these people out here on the streets, when you really get to talking to them and you can get them in a calm, a lot of these people suffer from prior sexual assault.
Yep.
They have never come to terms with those issues, and it really guides their thought process. And a lot of these people are just angry people. And then you get somebody jumps out of a car with a gun and a badge on, and I've had people try to take my head off just because I'm wearing that badge.
Right.
And, by the grace of God, I was strong enough to endure and come out on top. But, I think there's been a lot of cops killed because I think we have to give people that benefit of the doubt. And that little bit of a benefit of the doubt is all it takes. And I think a lot of cops, and I think I even brought this up, I think body cams have made it where cops, they basically, they fail to act because the camera's going and now they're dead.
Right. You just said something a minute ago that made me think that I see a lot in law enforcement now that I didn't maybe see before, but I see now is one thing good cops need to learn is to not take situations personal.
Yeah.
It's not personal. You just happen to be wearing the badge and the uniform that day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or whatever crime was committed, it's not personal. It's your job to be objective and do an investigation. Don't take the investigation personal that you need to hang the guy or girl by the cross.
I agree.
Don't take things personal.
I tell you something. The only time I took it personal is when they tried to take my head off. That's
right.
It's pretty hard not to take it personal. But you're right.
Of course.
But you know what? Like when I was in charge of Mooney, man, I was the angel of death down here. Yeah. If you got caught shoplifting, you were going to jail. And a lot of times I was going to charge you with burglary. Now you can't do that now. But back in those days, I charge everybody. And what it did is I wanted all of it to come to a stop. And for a while it did. But things have changed. I mean, even when they change it from $400 to $950 to make it from a felony to a misdemeanor,
right?
Just stupid. You know what I mean? All right, we already talked about the Geiger case. We talked about the Shaka. All right, The Nikki Stain case recently aired on 2020. For the folks at home, I actually got to see Bryan on 2020, man. Bitchin', dude. And what was it like seeing a case you worked on broadcast nationally? That must have been cool.
It was cool. The whole case had so many different things that reminded, you know how you said things in life intersect?
Yes.
Well, when the Debbie Dorian murder happened in Fresno, that was the summer I graduated high school. I remember that because it was a huge deal.
That was a big
then.
deal.
She went to the same high school I went to. She came from an affluent family.
Plus, that apartment was a nice part of town.
Right.
People were up in arms over that.
Right.
Yeah.
Then he gets arrested 25, 26 years later, however many years later it was. Initially, that was during COVID. So I got hired on the case after he had been arrested for about 3 years because of my death penalty work, and they were trying to, seek the death penalty on him. The attorney sought me out, and we worked that case. I get the case, and I'm like, well, first I got to see if I have a conflict because he allegedly committed crimes in Visalia too, and I was working at Visalia the last part of that. So I had to make sure I wasn't involved in any of those cases. And then we get this, case that has 30,000 pages of discovery. Most of it's handwritten from back in the 90s. So I couldn't just put it in my computer and do a word search for things I'm looking at. I had to read these terrible handwriting cop reports from Fresno PD from the 90s and trying to figure out how are we going to defend a case from 30 years ago.
Yeah.
When, the witnesses, our client remembered, he only knew first names. It was before like cell phones. I mean, cell phones were there, but they weren't there. It was before the internet that was there. It was a fascinating case, but it was a case.
Let me ask you this. So for the folks at home who haven't seen it, why did he put the duct tape on her face? That was a question I always thought.
I can't answer that question because of attorney-client privilege.
Yeah.
I will say that our defense at trial would have been it was an accident.
Got it. And
there was a lot of information that I would love to say.
Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it.
That the police and DA buried that would give you not justifying anything, but would give you a little bit of a different perspective.
I will tell you this. So I watched the 2020 episode because I knew you were on there, and then there was a bunch of guys from Visalia PD on there, and so I wanted to see it firsthand. I think Nikki Stain is a prime example, is if he would have shut up. I think, because he went into the box with Visalia PD and gave like a cop to a bunch of sexual assaults here in town, and which was surprising to me because most of them don't do that. So I was really surprised about that.
The jail calls.
Yes. Yeah. And then got recorded and then cop to the murders or cop to the sexual assaults and said, yes, I did do this stuff. But one thing I wanted to ask you, and I don't know if you could talk about it, was why did the initial sexual assault, why did they show up with multiple detectives and multiple patrol officers? Because I've never seen that happen. And
the victim in the case that was on that show, and I'm not going to name names.
I would never out a victim.
She had a relative that was a district attorney at the time.
Yeah, and so I will tell you this. I didn't know Nikki Stain. I never talked to Nikki Stain, but I'm glad that Nikki Stain is in jail because clearly dangerous individual.
So the fascinating thing about that case, just as a philosophical why people commit crime, usually you start low and end up doing a murder.
Yes.
He went backwards.
Yes.
He did a murder first, then he does these sexual assaults, and then he's crime-free for 25 years.
Yeah.
His personal life was, questionable, but nothing illegal.
Yeah.
But he went backwards, which is unusual.
And here's what's funny. When I see them take him down, they got him at the mall. Well, I used to be the officer in charge of the mall. So, I'm like, I wonder if I ever talked to this dude back in the day. You know what I mean? And
I had people messaging me on social media after they saw me on 2020 saying, I used to work for that guy at whatever restaurant in Fresno or what. And I'm like, oh my God, small world.
It is a small world, but I really wish they would have went into your thing a little bit more.
Yeah, I understand why they didn't. They're going to focus towards the victims, and they should. I mean, it's a sad story. I didn't.
Yeah.
It's funny though. They interviewed me for 3 hours, and I was only only about 45 seconds.
Yeah.
It was on there, but there's reasons behind that.
No, I get it, man. But I was glad to see the outcome of me personally, because I just think clearly to kill somebody and then to do the sexual assaults, clearly I don't want this person not walking the streets. What challenges come with defending law enforcement officers in criminal cases?
The political part of it.
Oh yeah.
The media coverage, it's, every court appearance is on TV.
Oh yeah.
Everything, the rumors going around, like we've talked about, the rumors going on. What did you hear? This is what happened. No, this is what happened. That I'm not saying that law enforcement shouldn't be held to a higher standard. Of course you should.
Yeah.
But when it comes to criminal accusations or whatever else, you should be treated the same as any other person accused of those crimes. And
they are not.
You see agencies come out and convict their own employees before they're ever convicted, and then they never even get convicted.
Yeah.
It's just, it's difficult. I hate,
I would tell you something. I learned a valuable thing during the Bryan and Shane case. Okay. They do this big press release. These guys are going to prison for 20 years each and blah, 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 blah. And I remember at the press conference, I remember looking at somebody and said, man, I sure would have liked to hear that they're entitled to due process like everybody else. Yep. And a supervisor heard me say that, kind of yelled at me, hey, you shouldn't be saying that. And I said, why not?
That's the law.
I go, it is the law. And then, they ended up doing no time, and it wasn't what we were told, and I'm wise enough to believe that I think that just because it's a cop, I think it just gets blasted out. I think in the recent one in Visalia, I think a lot of stuff got blasted out. Who knows what's going to happen? I know we can't talk about it. I'm not even going to ask you about it. But again, I don't know why we have to do these big press releases and, hey, if you want to put out something in written form, great. But I think it just becomes this, we're going to do this interview. We're going to do this. Right. We're going to do this big thing. We're stomping out police corruption. We're doing all these things. And it's like, dude, come on, man.
Right.
Give people the same courtesy that John Q. Citizen would get.
Right. Well, and the other unfair thing about it is it's blasted in the media initially and by the agencies, and then if it resolves in a positive nature, do you ever hear about that?
Hell no.
No. So, or do you ever check on these people to see how successful they are afterwards? I mean, like the canine case, he is making tons of money. He's happy. He's got a great job. None of that's ever covered.
Yeah.
This is the first time in 16 years I've kind of talked about where I'm at in an open setting after everything that happened to me.
Yeah.
Because you just remember those headlines.
Yeah. And you know what? Again, I always say this. I think cops, they get convicted in the court of public opinion before the case even gets adjudicated, right? Yep. And it's like, hey, man, just because we're cops, it doesn't mean that people don't make mistakes. I want to see these. I mean, do I want to see people held accountable? Yes, I do. But I think that they should be entitled to the same and the best defense possible.
Right.
That's what I'm going to say. You've taught at academies, instructed weaponless defense, and trained officers for years. Why has teaching always been central to your identity?
I like to share my experience and my knowledge with people. I want to give them all the tools they can have to make themselves successful. I love success stories.
Yeah.
I love hearing from like my old explorers that are in law enforcement and where they're at now or whatever they're doing in their lives. Anybody I've taught, when I hear the success stories, and it was because of knowledge I gave them, knowledge their other training officers gave them, or their instructors gave them, I like to share. I'm fortunate in my life where I'm at right now to get all this education, and I want to share that with people so they can, I can't do this forever. I'm grooming one of my former explorers now who works for me that I hope at some point he takes over my company because I would like to retire at some point.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So
how old are you now, brother?
48.
Okay.
So
go to 60. What are you looking at?
Who knows?
Okay.
It depends.
I would tell you this.
50 would have been nice.
Yeah. I will tell you something. You know what's so funny is I think the same way you do. Back when I was growing up in these neighborhoods, drug dealer looked pretty good back then, right? And I'm very proud of the fact that I got out, did a 25-year career, got to retire, and then became highly educated. Right. I'm very proud of that, and it's a success story. You are clearly a success story. I like to see that, and and I remember when you were going through all that stuff. I mean, you could have never looked into the future, man. But dude, I mean, I'm very proud of what you have accomplished, bro.
Thanks.
I mean, if nobody else tells you that, I will. What you do is I think it's vital, and I think it's important, and again, I mean, not many people come in here that are more educated than me, and I'll say it, you're more educated than me. What was it like being a recruit training officer at COS and shaping officers from day one?
It was fun. I think I was probably one of the more laid back recruit training officers. I was never in the military, and
so you're not going to be screaming and yelling.
I'm not going to scream, and and I'm not talking bad about the military, but when I see like videos of the drill sergeants yelling at the people, I just laugh and say, how stupid is that? Yeah. I get why they do it, so don't take that the wrong way if you're a former military.
Yeah.
But I get it. But I wanted to be someone there that if they had a question or they wanted, to know an answer to something, I wanted to be there to help them. And I wanted to shape them to do the right thing and to teach them the right thing.
Well, you're talking to a former military guy. And
right.
I would tell you this. I think people learn better when they're comfortable. I don't think people learn when they're screaming and yelling. I think Marines do it better than most, but that's very high stress, and that's a lot of screaming and yelling. But I do. I think people just learn better when they're calm, cool, collected. When you're putting pressure on people and you're doing, I've seen it, and you've seen it, people go into vapor lock and they don't learn. What do recruits struggle with the most during the early parts of training?
Back then, and I'm going to assume it's the same now. Talking to people is number one. I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest tool you have in your toolbox. And I've taught this in the security classes I've taken and in classes I've taught after law enforcement. Your biggest tool is your mouth. Oh yeah. If you don't know how to talk your way out of a situation, then you're never going to be truly good at what you do. Yeah. If you have to constantly put hands on people to fix the situation or use force or do something that's not just talking them down, then you're weak in that area. You need to learn how to talk to people, and you need to know that everybody's different, and there's not one specific way to talk to you as there would be the next person. Correct. Or the next person. And that just comes with experience. I know there was some controversy recently that they said that all cops should now have a college education and stuff, and there were some people, we shouldn't do that. I absolutely think that you should have an education. I think you shouldn't be a cop till you're 25 years old. I think a minimum of at least a associate's degree. Minimum. Yeah. You got to have some life experience. Now, this is coming from someone who became a cop a month after he turned 21.
Yeah. No,
so it was different then.
No, it is.
Nowadays, with the new generation, they got to have more life experience. They got to know how to talk to people, because too many people are on their phones or on their computers all day. That's how they talk to people, by text message or by instant message on a social media app. You got to learn to talk to people.
No, you do. And back when I started, I came on in 97. You're right, man. Hey, if you looked at us the wrong way, you were going to get taken to the ground.
If he fought you back in LA, they expected you better be getting medical clearance. And that's just not the...
It's not the case anymore. And you're right. I always had this way. I talked to people street. I talked to the street language, right? And more times than not, it got me out of a lot of situations because I could talk to people in the way that I knew that they identified with. Because if you're talking to a bunch of gangsters and you're calling a bunch of gangsters, sir, pretty soon you're going to get attacked. Yep. You're going to get attacked.
Yep, because they're going to look at you as weak.
They need to know that you mean business. They also need to know that you know what's up. You need to know who they are, what gang they're with, where they live. Mm-hmm. And, the whole time I was in the gang unit, man, they feared us because we knew right where they lived. And, so when people fought us, we just overwhelmed them with just numbers and then took them to the ground, hooked them up. But you're right. Times have changed, man. And what scares me is sometimes I think we're swinging the pendulum too far sometimes. I don't know if you feel that.
A little bit. I think the problem is when you have to go hands-on, you have to realize when that's over,
it's over.
As hard as it is, you got to talk to that person in a respectful manner and calm the situation down.
Yeah.
Because if you're still MFing them and yelling at them and throwing them in the back of your car, you're not calming the situation down.
Well, also too, I think now with body cams, I think that's taking care of that a lot.
Right.
I think, is it ever going to be the end all? No. But you're right. I used to tell cops this: once the cuffs are on, the shit's over. I don't want to see people punching people with handcuffs on. Couple things. Number one, it's called assault or color of authority. It is a crime. And so there's times I've had to step between a crook and a cop and been like, hey, they're cuffed. It's over. Let's get this dude booked and let's get on down the road. I think that there's a lot of cops that have lost their careers over that.
Yeah.
How have defensive tactics changed over the years, and what needs to change next?
I don't know how qualified I'm to answer that now because in my line of work now, I never put hands on people.
Yeah.
But in looking at watching body cam video, reading reports, I'm going to go back to, if you're going to teach defensive tactics, part of that class should also be verbal communication, verbal judo, as we used to call it.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They probably still call it that.
They still do.
I think it should come hand in hand. If that's not being taught together, then you're missing an opportunity to truly make somebody well-rounded to handle a situation. Because
I don't know about
some people think that they just need to, let's go take them down right now. Well, why don't you talk to them a little bit first?
I was going to say this, and when I saw this, I worked some cases when the reports don't match the video. That's
all the time.
Yes, that's a big deal. And I will tell you this, at the end of my career, right before I retired, man, I would rewatch that video and I made sure that they were identical, because the minute that the video don't match a report, now it's look like that you're hiding stuff or you're fabricating. Or worse, you're just flat out.
I'll take it one step further, not only on those types of situations, but now a lot of times the detectives are using their body cams during interrogations.
Yeah.
You'll read their report and you're like, shit, my client is screwed. But then you listen to the video and so many things are taken out of context, and there's certain comments that aren't in there that are like, wait a minute, I have a whole different view of what my client or the witness said compared to what the law enforcement officer is saying. Again, not bashing law enforcement. Not saying that you're lying, but
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Make sure it matches what the recording is.
Yeah. What does being a master taser instructor entail, and what responsibility comes with that title? Now you're looking at a guy. I think I've shot about 60 people with a taser.
Right. So
I'm a master taser
when
instructor.
I first left law enforcement, I was doing the security training is when I got involved in the taser stuff. I haven't been involved in it in probably 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah.
But went to a class, got certified, then had to go to a master class, pay a lot of money so I could teach security officers or, anybody in the private sector on how to use a taser. I think I got tased like 4 or 5 times during that class. We shot all kinds of taser bullets everywhere, taser darts everywhere. It was painful.
I was going to say, I think taser is a great tool, because you know what I liked about a taser? We don't get hurt, and really the suspect doesn't get hurt, right? We incapacitate them with the electric, get them to the ground, get them hooked up, it's over.
Right.
And I like that. I remember one time they called me in, they're like, you got more tasers than anybody. And I'm like, well, dude, I'm by myself, because I was working Mooney by myself or Main Street by myself. And, I just think it's a great tool. I think as the years go by, I think it's going to get even, I think it's going to get better and better and better. And I just think it's going to be something, because then it's no longer, back when we started, we were going fisticuffs with people in this day and age.
Back when I started?
That's kind of, they don't want fisticuffs anymore, because it's pretty hard to justify why the suspect's got a black eye, blood coming out his nose, busted lip. Tasers don't do that.
Right. Back when I started at LAPD, we checked out our taser, and it was the big dust buster.
Oh, yeah,
You had to keep it in the trunk. You couldn't. It was too big to carry in the back. You had to go get it, and you shot it. It looked like a dust buster.
Yeah.
That's come a long way.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Why is proper use of force training more crucial today than ever before?
The spotlight on law enforcement, the
Big
cameras
time.
everywhere, the social media, every situation is going to be critiqued by the 10 CNN experts that are watching the video on TV and telling you what you should have done and what you should not have done, and stuff like that. I mean, back before social media, I'm not saying wrong things were happening, but you didn't see the question on that kind of stuff.
Well, and I would tell you this. We both grew up during the Rodney King stuff, right? Rodney King was the first time that we saw a video of cops just stomping some dude out.
We had to take 3 days in the academy just on the Rodney King case.
Yeah. I would tell you something. I met Kuhn at one of the gang conferences, right? And he was hawking his book, right? And it's sad because of everything that occurred because of that Rodney King incident, right? It kind of changed law enforcement. Law enforcement was never the same. Then think about this. Then once the riots, then think once OJ, I mean, LAPD, man, they just went through about a 4 or 5 year. It was
like
just
a decade. A decade. Because then they had when I was there, the Rampart scandal was just finishing. I mean, the Rampart was so bad that officers, when I got hired in LA, were signing letters in their jackets saying, if I get killed in the line of duty, I do not want the police chief coming to my funeral. I mean, the morale was that bad at that point when I was down there.
Yeah. And, and it's sad because, again, LAPD was the gold standard, man. Yep. And then I remember when they got the consent decree and all that stuff, man, it was just, it's just horrible. What are the most dangerous mistakes officers make under stress?
Use of force.
Oh, yeah.
Shooting somebody when they don't have to shoot them.
Yeah.
Or freezing. Even the polar opposite. Under stress, they just freeze up, and somebody gets hurt.
Hey, I don't know if you saw this video, but it just happened in Fresno. Starts off at the mall. Guy's beating a girl in the car. She takes off, actually flicks him with her car. He starts chasing her. He's ramming her car. A sergeant pulls up, jumps out, dumps a full mag into the driver's side window. And then the suspect and then dumps another full mag, and the suspect didn't get hit. I was shocked. I mean,
remain calm.
Yeah, yes,
as much as you can.
But he dumped 2 full mags.
Right.
And I remember thinking, oh, the suspect's dead. And then he comes out, they hook him up and dust him off, and it's over. But I just remember watching that going, wow,
Yep.
I mean, I thought it was probably the first one was justified. I don't know if about the second round was justified, but nonetheless, I mean, I don't like to second guess cops because we don't get to see what they see. Right. But nonetheless, it just lets you know we have a say, the suspect has a say, but Murphy's Law has a say as well. Why is report writing one of the most underrated but critical skills in law enforcement?
You're documenting what happened to somebody that wasn't there.
Correct.
And eventually that report's going to go to somebody like me who's going to look at it and brief it and tell the defense attorney, this is messed up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is where we need to question them. Where's this in the report? Why isn't this in the report?
Yeah.
And just be honest.
Yeah.
In your reports, don't one-side it to make the guy look guilty or innocent. Just put the facts in there.
I would tell you this.
So many police reports are slanted.
Big time. I would tell you this. When I was training new cops, I used to tell them this. Write this report to the best of your ability because highly educated people are going to read this. A lawyer, a judge, and nobody wants your name, McWilliams versus so-and-so in case law in front of the Supreme Court. And I used to tell cops, do your best on this because remember this, this ain't going to be the last person that reads this report. You think this goes off into the ether and nothing happens with it. It's not like that.
It's there forever.
And then think about this. Here's another problem. and me and you have both been there. I remember getting a subpoena from a case 12 years ago.
Yep.
Right? And I'm an educated man and I got a pretty good memory, but man, bro, do you think I can remember from 12 years ago after writing 12 years of reports? Then you pull these reports and you go, oh, I wrote that, right? Or you have no I couldn't remember nothing about it, but then I read it and sometimes I'd be like, oh man, thank God I wrote it. But there's sometimes I was like, oh shit, this is not all that great, right? And that happens, man. It's like when you're learning your first couple years of being a cop, you're trying to just keep your head above water. And I think that as you get some years on, then you realize what is what. But I honestly believe that we should be doing our best on reports.
The first thing they teach in the academy, document everything.
Yeah.
And do that. Document everything.
Yeah.
Or we're going to just get ready for your cross-examination if you don't.
Oh, yeah. What separates a good officer from a truly exceptional one?
The dedication to the community.
Yeah.
So I remember, back when we started, community-based policing first came into play, right? And I remember hearing so many people say, this is stupid, this is too touchy-feely, blah, blah, blah. If you don't take into consideration the community you're there to protect, you're there to enforce the law. You're there to take bad people to jail. Great. But you're also there for the community.
Yeah.
And that's, I'll be the biggest preacher on your department should represent the community. What do I mean by that? You should have white people, black people, Asian people, Middle Eastern people, females, male, gay, straight. All those should be members of your department. Because a lot of those groups that I just mentioned, because I've experienced, are ostracized in your agency.
Big time. I will tell you something. Somebody brought this up recently about Vice APD, and somebody asked me about it. They're like, we don't see black officers. And
I said that the first time I started working.
And I will tell you something. In the whole time I worked at Visalia, I think I only saw 4. Lance, Deshaun, there's a guy now, Lamar, he's there. And that might be it. Right. You know what I mean? And so that's not good.
No.
You know what I mean? And so I think, but an officer that just retired, he said this, and back when I started, there were very few Hispanic officers. Now there's more Hispanic officers than white. Right. You know what I mean? And I think, too, Tulare County, we're, I don't know, 60% Hispanic, so I get it. I understand it. Yeah. But race shouldn't play a factor, but you're right. There comes a point in time we need to represent the community. I agree with that.
Funny quick story about me and Lance once. We get dispatched to a guy that has a gun in his apartment. So we're the only 2 there. And we both approach the apartment. I'm standing behind like this brick thing and he's standing behind a bush. And Lance looks over to me and goes, do you believe they sent the only black officer and the only gay officer to this call? This is bullshit. Typical Lance Brooks.
Yeah. I actually, I just talked to him.
I've talked to him a few times in the past.
He lives in Tennessee now. Yeah. I'm trying to get him to come out and come on the show. Oh, he'd love it. Awesome. I love Lance. In fact, who doesn't love Lance? Lance is good peeps. You went all the way into doctoral studies. What pushed you to pursue that level of education?
So I got my bachelor's degree the last year I was in law enforcement. We were all going to Union Institute
to
get our bachelor's degree. I got that. And after I left law enforcement,
they're defunct now. They don't even exist.
I'm like, I want to get some more education. Nobody in my family has a master's degree, or my immediate family. And I'm like, I'm going to get my master's degree. So I apply at Arizona State, get in. I flew through the master's program. I mean, people are thinking, I don't want to get a master's degree. It's hard. If you do it in a topic you enjoy, it's easy. Yeah. I mean, I rarely opened a book because I had all the law enforcement experience. I had to open the book for references on my papers and stuff. So I get my master's degree, and right before I'm going to finish, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I want to get my doctorate. I didn't tell anybody I applied. And I graduate from Arizona State online, and I go to the college for graduation. And I'm sitting there at my graduation ceremony. It's taking forever. I'm playing on my phone. And I had applied for the doctoral program at Walden. and I get an email. And it says, congratulations, you've been accepted into the doctoral program. I don't tell anybody. We have my graduation party at my house. A couple weeks later, all my family's there. And I tell everybody, I'm not done yet. I'm going to get I'm going to start working on my PhD. And everybody thought I was crazy. And I still think I'm a little crazy because it's a lot of work. But I want to be the best. I want to get the most education I can.
Well, I tell you something, man. If you get a doctor,
it will really help my CV too.
I'll say, well, that right there. I mean, when somebody is a doctor, I don't care what it is, psychology, medical, PhD, whatever it is, anything that you do it, even in education, that title just elevates you.
Right.
It really does. And, like on my email, when I email people, my email,
mine
Master of Education, right? And, I'm proud of that because guess what? They don't hand out a master's degree easy. And they don't hand out a doctor's degree easy.
Nope.
And so for you to do that, God bless you. I respect that. And, what inspired your dissertation work on Penal Code 186.22 for the folks at home? That's criminal street gang activity and its impact on minority communities.
The law is a racist law. It's 100% focused on minorities because gang members are minorities. It doesn't make it fair. I mean, the statistics show that. You know, the white gangs are, sure, you'll see a 186.22 put on an Aryan Brotherhood member or something.
NLR.
As well. Yeah. It's not, I'm not, and I might be wrong. That's the whole point of the dissertation is to do a study to figure out what the statistics are. But at first glance, it appears that it's a law that's focused towards Hispanics, blacks, maybe some Asians, because Asian gangs aren't quite as prevalent, but they're there. And because you don't hear a lot about the white gangs.
Yeah.
So that's my focus.
Got it. No, and, me being a gang expert, you being a gang expert, I think the laws should be even more stringent on gangs, period. I don't care what color it is. I just think people have no concept of how truly evil some of these people are. If you can shoot up a house with 20 people in there and don't care who gets hit, I do not want you out there on the streets. Right.
So I'm not going to disagree with that, but I'm going to say this. More study needs to be done on why people join gangs. And this is some of my law enforcement friends says this is my softer side now that I've gotten my education. I deal with these people. We need to do a better job of giving alternatives than joining a gang to the people that are out there.
I would tell you this, this, and for the people at home, I would tell you this. In all my time in the gang unit, this is what you truly learn. Number one reason, protection. Yep. Number two reason,
family.
Belonging, family. Number three, sometimes these people don't even have a choice.
Right.
It's like you either
Dad
join.
was a Norteño, I have to be a Norteño. Yes.
Or you run into this. You're joining us or we're going to whip your ass every day. And so there comes a point, and then the byproducts of that are now power, drugs, money, girls. Then there just becomes this, it's like for the folks at home, we've all seen the gangsters walking around with the shorts on with the socks pulled up to the knees. When I tell people why they do that, people are shocked. You know why they do that? Because in jail, if you show any part of skin on your legs, that means you're looking for some love in jail. Gangsters think it just looks cool. That's not why that happens. Jail dictates what happens to the streets and so on and so on and so on. And so what I tell people is, I don't know, man. I just seen the ravages of gangs and what it's done. And it's erased entire generations of people. That I think is sad.
It is.
And what conclusions have you drawn so far from your research?
I'm not very far into it yet.
Okay.
I'm still getting all the statistics. So
what does a doctoral cost? What are you looking at?
Yeah, I want to know. It's probably cost me about $50,000 so far.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sure it ain't cheap.
It's not cheap.
Yeah.
So I'm in the beginning stages. I kind of took a break because the business got so busy. I have 8 years to finish, so I'm definitely taking advantage of the 8-year plan.
Yeah.
So still too new in it to give you any answers.
Got it. How should public policy evolve to create a more just system?
It needs to, I'm going to go back to what I've been saying is you got to take politics out of policy.
Yeah.
There's too many politics in policy. I'm a true believer, and I've seen it on my cases, that if you're a minority, you are not treated the same in the justice system as white people. I can have a white client with the same charges as a black client standing next to him. The white client will get a sweet plea deal. They're trying to send the black guy to prison. Yeah. And I'm not joking. That's not, I'm being all serious.
In a way, and I can believe that. I believe that.
But yet, you're going to hear, oh, we're not like, that's not how it is. Well, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So you just got to take politics. The policy needs to be the policy, and it needs to be the same for everybody, no matter who you are.
I agree with that. How has education reshaped your approach to investigations?
It's made me more detailed in my investigations because you have to be very detailed when you're working on your master's thesis.
Oh, yeah.
Dissertation.
Oh, yeah.
And it gives you a different perspective. Again, I get into a lot of debates with some friends, friendly, spirited debates about, crime and criminal justice and why people do the things they do. And it's let me understand and see the bigger picture of why things happened. And why why do people commit crime? Why is society like this that enables this to happen?
I would tell you something, and I think that there's something about guys like us, and I've had these conversations with people who think that they know what they're talking about, and I've had to tell people. In fact, I just had this conversation not too long ago. Nobody knew what I did. I'm not walking around going, I'm a former cop. I don't tell people that. If they watch the show, they know. But somebody's sitting there spouting off all this stuff about law enforcement that's never been a cop. And I finally said, you do not know what you're talking about. And they were like, well, I'm educated. I know what I'm talking about. And I said, and that even makes you dumber because you should know not to open your mouth about stuff that you don't know. And they're like, well, what makes you an expert? I go, how about 25 years of being a cop and being as educated as you, asshole? And I think that that's what we're getting into. It's like people just realize until you've been a cop, until you've seen it out here, it's easy to point fingers and, just want to vilify law enforcement. But damn, dude, it's like I would love to see people really know what this job is. And I think now with all the cop shows and stuff, people realize, it's like I had to recently tell somebody this. Somebody asked me this, what's your book about? And I said, people I've shot, people I've fought, and people I've got, right? And that is in a nutshell. And I tell people, it's like, hey, I try to do this better than most. Did I fail at times? Yes, I did. Am I flawed? Every officer is. Nobody's perfect out here. But we're all trying to do the best damn we can. Because I was born to do this. I think you were born to do what you do. I really believe that. And if you have a true passion for this, there's something about law enforcement and you're either drawn to it or you're not. And we've all seen people try to turn into something that they're not. And I think for you, you were born to do this. I think I was born to do this. And it made us good at our jobs. And, now you're continuing to do what you're doing. And, and I'm trying to provide a service for our former cops, Do you believe law enforcement training should require higher academic standards? We already covered that.
We talked about that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you believe the criminal justice system is fundamentally fair?
No.
All right. Yeah.
We talked about that.
Yeah. Yep.
Nope.
Do you believe where do you think the greatest need for reform lies?
There's a lot of areas that needs to be reformed. I think that I know this is a controversial topic, but I think when it comes to rehabilitation of criminals, we think we're rehabilitating the criminals. We're not.
I think prison makes a lot of people worse.
I think it makes it worse. You see other countries where they send their criminals to what we would call like hotels on the beach.
Yeah.
Prisons, and they're not having the recidivism rate that we have.
Yeah.
So I think there needs to be a better look into how we can fix people.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is mental health too. There's got to be a whole revamping of the mental health. People don't get the mental health.
No, I tell you what, I think there's a lot of people out here on the street right now that need mental health care. I think they need psychotropic medication. Yep. A lot of them don't get it. Then what do? They self-medicate with illegal street drugs, and then it just keeps this just ugly toll booth on the bridge thing that just keeps going around and around and around and around. How do human rights guide your decision making today? Seems like I think you've become a lot more
big. So I'm not a Republican anymore. We talked about how my grandpa used to call me a little Republican running around. I think that because of being gay and having troubles in my life, because of that, and understanding that people that are different are treated different, you have to protect people's rights. Everybody is human. If you believe in God, God created all of us, no matter who you are. So I think that a dedication to treating everybody equal, no matter what color your skin is, what religion you are, what your beliefs are, who you sleep with, whatever. Human rights need to be involved in every step of the criminal justice process, in the political process, and everything. They say that, we're the freest country in the world and everybody's equal in the United States. If you believe that, you are crazy.
No, I don't believe that. Yeah. Let me ask you this. Are you far left, middle?
I'm more
right.
I would say I'm socially pretty far left.
Okay.
But like financially, crime and justice, probably more in the middle.
Got it. Are there?
I like George Bush.
Okay. Junior, senior, which one?
Junior.
Junior. Okay. Yeah. See,
I'm not going to take you down that path.
Yeah.
We can talk about that later.
Yeah, because I'm far right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Are there ethical lines you refuse to cross no matter the pressure?
Yeah. I'm not going to lie for a client. I'm not going to make things up. Yeah. I'm not going to go pressure a witness to say something that isn't true. I'm just not going to do that.
You know what?
I'm not going to bring my clients dope into the jail. Yeah. And I've read so many books about their investigators bringing them in contraband to the jail. I make way too much money to risk that to bring you something you shouldn't have.
No, I would tell you something. One of my last cases, I flat out said that. I go, I'm not going to lie on these reports. I'm not going to make stuff up because you want me to make stuff up. I go, I'm going to take it to where the evidence leads. You want to tell me your side of the story? I'm all for it.
Right.
All right. I'm willing to listen. But I got 3 other people that are saying this and you're saying this.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you this. You know this. You get 3 people saying it versus 1. Who are they going to believe?
Right.
Right.
Well, I think that's why I have the reputation with what I do now is I'm very, to the point. I submit reports, we give them to the DA, and it is what it is.
Yeah, no,
if it helps our client, great. If it doesn't, that's what they told me.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to go in there. That's what I found out.
Yeah. I had a defense attorney one time said, do not put that in. I told him what the guy said, and he said, do not put that in a report. And I had a real problem with that. I'm like, look, man.
There's a ways about going. If it's a statement that we don't like, we don't have to turn it over because we're not going to use it. There's different rules for the defense than there is for the prosecution.
I just said this. It is what it is.
Right.
And have you ever walked away from a case based on principle alone?
No.
Okay.
I've walked away from cases because of conflicts of personality with the client or they stopped paying us or stuff like that. But I haven't run into that situation. Not to say, if my principles are pushed, then I probably would walk away.
I tell you something. I know I had a client that I was dealing with, and he wanted to act like a hard ass. He's like, "You're going to do this, and you're going to do that," and I was like, I remember telling him, I'm on this side of the glass, he's on that. And I was like, "Hey, fuck you. What are you going to do?" And he was like, "What?" And I said, "You heard me." I go, "Listen, dude," I said, "you're not going to pressure me or intimidate me in any way, shape, or form." I said, "Dude," I said, "I don't give a shit." And, he didn't listen. He wanted to represent him pro per, and they ended up dropping 50 on him when I had him a pretty sweet deal at 25 to life. But hey, you know what? They win some, you lose some. Yeah, you know what I mean? You're right.
True.
After leaving law enforcement, you entered the world of baseball umpiring and rose to the college level. What did that new world give you emotionally that policing never could?
Okay, so if you look at pictures of me as a little kid, I would always would be wearing a San Francisco Giants hat. My true love in life is baseball. I love baseball. And when I was little, not only did I draw the picture of me being a cop, but whenever we had like neighborhood baseball games or neighborhood football games, guess who always volunteered to be the referee or the umpire was me.
Yeah.
But being in law enforcement, you don't get a lot of free time on your hands to go do fun things. I mean, law enforcement's your life.
It is.
So I had a buddy who did a lot of baseball umpiring, and when I left Visalia PD, he's like, hey, we need umpires, come start. So I started at the high school level in Fresno, moved up to junior college, did a whole bunch of junior college games, have done a handful of Division II games. The Sports Association Fresno, which is the San Joaquin Valley Officials Association, covers all the high school sports. I moved up to being the baseball supervisor, and then ending up being the football and baseball supervisor, and then the president of the entire association.
Wow.
So I was dealing with the CIF, doing contracts, doing all that stuff. I left for two reasons. One, my business blew up out of control, and I couldn't take the time away. And if you think politics are bad in law enforcement, try getting into politics in high school sports.
Dude.
Crazy. It just made it unfun for me anymore. I'm going to go back to being on the field this year, umpiring a few games here and there, but I don't want to be in charge.
Hey, I would tell you something. You know what I learned being a YSO, and I was the YSO at Redwood? Dude, literally, I would have to go in the stands and tell parents, you can't cuss out other kids in the stands over a football game involving high school kids.
Right.
Then we had parents that would come out of the stands and want to accost the coaches because their kid didn't get the ball thrown to him. And I literally had to tell people, we are not playing for blood here. This is not the World Series here. This is a high school football game.
You're supposed to be learning.
But I will tell you something. People would go rabid over high school sports. I actually had to kick parents out of high school games and escort them out of the stadium because they're over there motherfucking a high school kid in the stands.
Right. Yep. I saw it all the time.
And it would shock me that I would go like, you realize you're on a high school campus. That kid actually has more of the right to be here because they're in high school than you. You are a 40-year-old man and you're threatening to beat up a kid over a high school football game. And you later became president of the San Joaquin Valley Officials Association.
I did.
What did leadership in sports teach you about life after policing?
That's a good question because this is something I wanted to talk about. When you're in law enforcement, that's your life.
Yeah, you have to eat, sleep, live, breathe it.
You don't get to do a lot of fun things.
You don't. Right? And you got to watch where you go, who you hang out with.
Do all of that. Ever since I left law enforcement, this is what I tell people that have lost their jobs in law enforcement, gotten out of law enforcement. There's so much more to life than law enforcement.
Big time.
Right? So I had the opportunity to do that, to do something I love, to be involved in baseball, which is my life. I mean, when baseball season starts, the Giants game is always on my TV at home. And I got to do that, and I got to use my experience as a cop because you're basically the cop out there on the field, right? And I got to be involved in that and teach new umpires. I taught at camps. I got involved in contracts, basically running a business. But I had the opportunity to do these things because I had the time. Since I've left, I've traveled the world, the country. I've gotten my other love, which is running. I just ran my first marathon last month.
Good for you, bro.
500 miles this year. So it's been a lot, but you have time to experience life. So what I like to tell...
How many countries have you been to?
4.
Which ones?
4. Mexico's our main. I've been everywhere in Mexico. We go to Mexico like 3 times a year. So that's our favorite spot to go. But I've been to almost all the islands in the Caribbean. I've been to Europe.
Okay.
The good thing too about my job is takes me places too. I was in Alaska 2 weeks ago on a federal case.
Yeah, I remember you called me during
it
that
was
time.
negative 22 degrees when I was there. It was cold. But, I've gotten to do all these things that I probably wouldn't have gotten to do or had the time
you wouldn't have had the time to do it
if I was still in law enforcement. So I like to tell, people that they're losing their jobs or retiring. Yeah, law enforcement is honorable. Great. You've done a great career, but there are things you can do once you're done.
I totally agree.
So much more you can do.
I tell you something, man. You know what? I'm living my best life right now, bro. And I'm getting to do things. And I believe it or not, this happened on a whim, and this is taking off, dude. And I love this. I love doing what I'm doing. I'm highlighting your story. I think it needs to be told. I think you got a great story, man. Writing a book. I could have never did this in law enforcement. You're right. And so I'm getting to do things that I've always wanted to do. And now there's nobody telling me, if you do this, we're going to write you up. And, and I think with law enforcement, it just becomes, it's a lifestyle. And if you don't live it properly, you're going to get zapped.
And I think you're going to, and I'm not talking bad, because again, we need people to be in law enforcement. It's an honorable profession.
I agree.
But I think you miss out a lot on life.
You do.
I really do.
I do too. Out Magazine featured you. What did that representation mean for you personally?
Okay, for those of you that don't know, Out Magazine is a gay sports magazine that comes out. And when I got promoted to the president of the Officials Association, they wanted to focus on all the support I had from my fellow officials and the associations and the CIF and becoming one of the few openly gay sporting officials. Because again, sports is a lot like law enforcement.
Yeah, very macho.
Yeah, how many out baseball players do you see, or football players do you see? And when they do come out, they have issues, right? So they did an article on that. It was very special to me. It was about my wedding night and how many of my fellow officials were at the wedding and supporting me and my husband. And it was very special to me.
Yeah, good for you, man. Yeah. And you know what, bro? I like to see it. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, we're at a point in time where I think society now, I mean, when we were growing up, I mean, being gay during that time, that had to be, I guess what I want to be the word stifling, the term in the closet, right?
That was a big deal.
It was a big deal. And so I think now it's become more socially accepted where, hey, you know what? And again, it's like, I'm never going to judge anybody by their lifestyle. It's like, hey, you always were nice to me. I was nice to you. We're friends. We respect each other. And I think that we've gotten to a point to where I think it's become a little bit more socially acceptable.
I just hope before I die, it comes to the point where that's not even an issue.
It shouldn't
Out
be.
Magazine doesn't have to do an article about
it shouldn't
me.
have to be.
I shouldn't have to. It just, that's normal.
No, I get it.
You know what I mean?
Running has become a major part of your life.
Yes.
36 half marathons. Impressive. And your first full marathon this year. What role does running play in your mental health?
It's my stress relief.
Yeah, I can see that.
I do my best thinking. I have the most energy after I go for a run. My parents did triathlons for a long time. They both have really bad health, so they had to stop doing that. So I kind of thought, well, I'm not going to do triathlons because I hate to bike ride and I don't swim, but I'll start running. And my mom and dad, when I was growing up, used to do all the little local 5K runs and all that. So I started running in about 2016 was when I really started getting serious. And that's just, it's my stress relief. It's my freedom. Yeah. People say I'm crazy. I'm up at 5 a.m. running in my neighborhood when it's 30 degrees outside.
Yeah.
I keep track of all, I have a whole wall in my office at home with all my medals for my run. And my husband hates it because he's like, that's the wall of Bryan right there. And I tell him I want to be buried with all those around my neck. But it's just, less than 1% of the world population has finished a marathon. Yeah. I'm in that less than 1%. Okay. And that, I got emotional when I finished. It was,
dude.
It was an accomplishment.
How fast you run a marathon?
4 hours and 18 minutes. That was not my goal. It was 4 hours was my goal, but I hit the wall at mile 20 and the last 6 miles were tough.
Yeah, but dude, I mean, I did honestly, dude, 26 miles in 4 hours, that's still pretty legit.
Yep.
How did stepping away from law enforcement allow you to reclaim parts of your life you didn't realize you'd lost?
I could be me and not have to worry about looking over my shoulder.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing. I could be me.
Yeah, because that's true. In law enforcement, you're always, honestly.
I'm not just saying that because I'm gay. I could be me.
Yeah.
I could be me in general.
Yeah. No, and I can tell you this, the whole time being a cop, you know this, it's not if you're going to get in trouble, it's just when. I think, going back real fast, I think a lot of leadership in law enforcement has become truly toxic. Do you believe that?
I believe that.
Okay. You have to worry more about your organization coming after you or administration coming after you than you do the crooks.
Yep.
And that is sad to say.
Right.
And you know this, you can do everything right. You can still get written up. You can still be sued. You can still be depositioned. You can still go through all this stuff, even if you've done everything right.
Yep.
And that is this dark cloud over law enforcement. And I think it runs a lot of people out of the business. You know,
I think it does.
It does.
It does.
A lot of people are like, I don't want to put up with this bullshit anymore. I'm out. And
but that's why people need to prepare themselves beforehand. Get an
for
education,
life after.
do all that.
Yeah, life
there
after
is a
law
life
enforcement.
after law enforcement, but you need to be prepared for that and have a plan.
Yeah.
Always have a plan. Even if you think you're going to do your 30 years, have that plan that what if.
No.
So you know what you're going to do.
I tell you what, I got my bachelor's. I didn't know I was going to go into education, but I got my bachelor's in 2009 because I was like, hey, Jay, you're almost 10 years away from law enforcement. I mean, we're retiring. Be thinking, forward thinking. There's got to be something after this, and at least go get that one sheepskin.
Yep.
Do investigators experience PTSD at levels similar to police officers?
I'm going to say no. It's different.
It is.
I'm not downplaying it because there is, I mean.
Yeah. But you get to see
a lot of times
crazy
you see a lot of
stuff.
crazy stuff, and you get to hear what really happened from people, and have to keep that inside because you can't tell anybody what.
what
they told you, right? And
crook cops did all of it.
And I get everything in a case. So I mean, how many autopsy pictures? I've handled over 100 murder cases as a defense investigator. I've seen too many dead bodies at this point. Too many. I mean, again, I'm cold to it. Maybe that's not a good thing. But
you got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do
for your own mental well-being.
That's why I go run 26 miles.
Yeah. How do you protect your family or your husband from the emotional weight of the cases you work?
I don't show emotions. If my husband and I fight, it's because I don't show emotions. He gets mad that I don't talk about work, but at the same time, I don't want to hear his gruesome ER story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm just like, you don't need to. It's terrible stuff. Let's talk about something else besides.
And you know what?
that.
And I've said this before. It's hard enough on us the first time. It's very hard when you have to relive it and just talk about it over. And there comes a point in time where I don't want to talk about the dead baby. I don't want to talk about the sexual assault victim because it's toxic. It is poison to your brain. And, there just comes a point in time. We all have our own coping mechanisms in place, and you got to do what you got to do for you, brother. In fact, here it is. What coping mechanisms have carried you through the darkest moments?
Running and baseball. I'll just go bury myself in a baseball game, or I'll go run, or I really keep my emotions to myself, which is probably not the healthiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But I rarely break down. If I do, it's by myself.
Well, yeah. But you're right. There's just a time you have to turn off your brain from a case, law enforcement, whatever it is. You got to just step away from that stuff for a while. I spent a lot of years, man, downtown, drinking beer and, hooting and hollering. But I have a hard and fast rule. Nothing good happens after 10.
Nope.
And I will tell you something, bro. It's protected me 1,001 times, man. And dude, I mean, E, who I love, if something would happen and they would call me and, hey, were you here? Did you see what happened? No.
I was gone.
And they would be like, well, we saw you on the video. I go, did you see what time I left? And they're like, what time did you leave? I go, 9:45. How do you know that? I always leave at 9:45. And I'm like, and it protected me because guess what? If you go too hard out there, sooner or later, you're gonna get zapped.
No, I'm lucky. I have some close friends who are alcoholics because that's how they deal with their stress and stuff like that. And I don't ever want to be that.
Yeah.
So,
I tell you something, you know what?
I like to drink, but I don't like to be drunk. So it's,
I'm you know what? Me and my wife will go downtown. We'll have a few beers or whatever with dinner and stuff or whatever. But yeah, my days of, laying out, all hungover.
We're too old for that shit.
Yeah. And then, dude, in 2 weeks, I'm going to be 55, bro. So yeah, life does change. Has your view of humanity changed because of everything you've seen?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we talked about it kind of near the beginning. All of my experience when I became a cop and everything now, I mean, I'm very, very negative. I don't have any hope in humanity. I really don't. I mean, there's so many bad things that people do, and not just criminally, just in general. The way humanity treats each other, it's just, we all have hope. But I'm just so negative and just so pessimistic about everything.
You know what my wife recently told me? She goes, Jay, you're so judgmental. And I think it was all those years of being a cop.
Oh, because we judge everybody.
Yeah, because, it's like I'll see some guy and I'll be like, oh, there's a gangster, right? There's a tweaker, right? And, so my wife one day, she's like, man, dude, she's like, you're judgmental, Jay. And I'm like, it's the cop in me and I can't turn it off.
Right.
And that's probably one of the byproducts of doing the job for as long as we did.
I haven't been a cop for 16 years. And when we go out, I still sit with my back to the wall.
Oh, big time. You'll always be that way.
Judge everybody. My husband tells me I still drive like I'm driving a patrol car.
Yeah.
And we get into fights about that.
Yeah.
But that you just can't take that out of you.
You can't. And you know what? And I mean, I try to show people love when I can. I really do, man. But the job did the same for me. It made me cynical in a lot of ways. We get to see what most people don't.
Right.
There's a price that you got to pay to do this job. We get to see what others don't. But then there's a byproduct of that, which is a lot of the stuff I wish I didn't have in my brain, which I know you feel the same. Right. And all you can do is cope with it the best you can. Of all your awards, LAPD Commendations, Explorer Advisor of the Year, the Mad California Hero Award, which one touched you the most personally?
Probably the DUI award. No, the Explorer Advisor.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely the Explorer Advisor. Again, I've kept in contact with so many of those kids.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not kids anymore. They're in their mid-30s.
Yeah.
But, being an explorer and that, I mean, that's what shaped me going into law enforcement. Not the picture I drew when I was in second grade, but being part of the Fresno County Sheriff's Department when I was a teenager and, riding along with the deputies, learning from them, and then going into law enforcement. Obviously, I was going to give back in the same way and be a part of that unit, and to be voted on that 2 years in a row by the kids. A lot of those kids, again, that I still talk to on a regular basis, man. That's special to me.
Yeah, as it should be. Yeah. How do you define success now compared to the beginning of your career?
Ooh. So success for me now is it's not a case that I work or anything. It's the reputation I have. It's the hard work that we put into my business. I mean, I created a company that, we're on the way to making, I'm not going to say the number, but a lot of money every year.
Yeah, good for you.
And it's not, the money's great, but I'm not going to sit here and say it's about the money because I do love what I do, but I've created something that helps people.
Yeah.
May not get them out of the situations they're in, but at least it's helped a little bit.
Also, too, man, you should get paid whatever you want because, number one, I know you do a good job. That's here nor there. There's an emotional toll on you, bro. And then not everybody is made to do what you do. And I'll tell you this, I'm not made to do what you do. And, and I don't have a problem saying that, right? And I think that you do what you do, and I think you do it at a very high level. So, God bless you. And I hope you make all the money you want because I think you deserve it. Because a lot of people can say that they can do what you do, but dude, very few. You breathe rare air, bro.
Yep.
How do you want to be remembered in this profession?
As someone who worked hard and fought for people's rights and was dedicated to what he did.
Yeah, that's honorable, right? Where do you see criminal investigations heading in the next decade? Because I think with DNA and technology,
well, AI is going to screw it all up. I'm seeing some of these agencies that are using AI to write reports. The defense community loves that because we're going to rip that apart.
Yeah, because you didn't write this. You didn't write it.
Yeah, that's just a bad idea. I mean, the technology is getting crazy. People are going to get caught doing crimes because there's cameras everywhere.
I will tell you something.
Cell phones everywhere. There's
with a Stonebreaker. Did you watch his episode?
That was a good episode.
Flock safety, dude. They are cracking Amber Alerts in 10 to 18 minutes.
Right.
Dude, back in the day, you'd have been lucky to get that in days.
Right.
Now they're doing it in minutes.
Weeks, months. Sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's more cameras than what you think there are. And I don't know if a lot of people picked up, but he's talking about these drones that fly around. They realize when their battery is going to go dead, land on their own, switch their batteries, and go right back up. Dude, here's on the right side of my brain, it's Big Brother, right? We're being watched at all times, but it's also safety because I think,
wrong.
Yeah.
So you know what technology I hate, and this is big in Fresno. I was dispatched because ShotSpotter picked up. And I have a very good friend who's one of the higher ups in ShotSpotter, and I'm always texting him, cussing at him, saying my client was caught because the Fresno PD report started. We were dispatched to a ShotSpotter call.
And for the folks at home, ShotSpotter is this thing that it can pick up shots and it can almost tell you where it happened in the city.
Yep, almost exactly where it's at.
And so. But I can tell you this, man, if it's going to get guns and people out there shooting up houses or killing people, I'm all for it. But you're right. I think we're watched more than what we think.
Yeah.
And how has technology changing defense investigations? Is it doing it for the better or is it doing it for the worse? What do you think?
I think there's two parts to it. I think it's making it harder to defend people because cell phones catch them,
Now it's video. And video doesn't lie.
But a lot of times, on sex cases or stuff like that, or any kind of case where you're being accused of something and then you get the cell phone download and it shows that you weren't even there, or wait a minute, those messages were not sent by you. Stuff like this. There's stuff that helps.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff that's making it hard.
Yeah. Yeah. What worries you most about the future of policing?
They're going to take too much of the person out of it and technology is going to take over.
I agree.
And you're not going to have decision making. You're going to have just an automated whatever.
I agree. I would tell you something. Right about the time I was retiring, one of the bosses, who I very much respected, pulled me to the side one day and he said this to me. He said, Jay, you are one of the last of the Mohicans. He goes, sadly to say, he goes, we don't need your type of law enforcement anymore. He goes, I think you're doing the right thing. I think you're getting out at the right time. He goes, because in this near future, cops like you are not going to last. He goes, you were great. He goes, I loved it. When I sent you after somebody, you went and got them by any means necessary. He goes, I never had to worry about you. You could kick ass, take names, do all that shit. He goes, but that's not the way that this business is going now. And that was hard to hear, dude. Yeah. But there's truth.
And it made you feel really old, too.
Yeah, it did. Well, think about this. I got hired with 22 guys. 2 of us made it to retirement. Yep. That's a horrible statistic. Yeah. What gives you hope?
In general?
Yeah.
That there's good in people.
Yeah.
And that ultimately the good in people will make our world a better place, and that we can get past the current decisiveness of, I'm not going to just say it's our country, because it's not just our country, it's the world.
It is the world.
It's hope that people can respect each other no matter what their beliefs are, who they are, what color their skin is. I just want to live in a world where,
yeah,
you're Jason McWilliams, I'm Bryan Pinto, and that's all that's important.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. I agree, man. I always want to see the best in people. And it's hard for guys like us. It really is. Because we got to see. I hate to use this analogy, but we got to see the puppet show and we got to see the strings, right? Yep. And there's a price to pay that. Yep. Because we got to see the worst of the worst.
We are, but I believe every person has something good inside them too.
I do too.
No matter what they do, I think there's something good in everybody.
I do too. What advice would you give to a young person entering law enforcement today?
Don't do it.
Yeah.
I know that's not the popular answer for you law enforcement fans, but don't do it.
No,
it's not worth it. It's not. It's different now. I think it's going to become a transient profession because here's the problem. A 21-year-old kid today has got to do a 36-year career to make it to retirement. They're not going to make it. I think too many people are going to get injured or they're going to get burned out. And I think you're going to see people come in 5 years, 10 years, and then they're going to move on. Yep.
And
and the new generation, it's not a career to them anymore. It's not a calling. It's a job.
And dude, perfectly said. When we came on, it was a calling, and it was imprinted on my heart. It was imprinted on your heart, and there's something that pulls us to this career. I don't see that with this new generation.
They walk in and they think, I'm going to be a homicide detective in a year. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
You need to put your time in.
No, I agree. What advice would you give to someone who wants to follow your path into defense investigations?
So I'm going to contradict myself for a minute.
Uh-huh.
The best people that do my line of work worked in law enforcement.
Yeah.
Right? So it would be hard. I do have one employee who's never worked law enforcement. She does have her degree in criminal justice.
Yeah.
And she's brilliant. And she knows how to talk to people and she's good. But I think you have to have some kind of, at the minimum, criminal justice education.
Yeah.
And some kind of experience of talking to people, writing reports, stuff like that. I mean, there's nothing that will top the law enforcement experience.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So many of the defense investigators out there are archaic.
Yeah.
There's not a big young generation of defense investigators coming in. I'm trying to create that with the employees I'm hiring so we can.
Yeah, you're getting younger kids.
Yeah, younger. I say kids, they're in their 30s. But they're kids to us.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So get your education. If you have law enforcement experience, be able to look at things with an open mind, and you got to be a hard worker.
Yeah.
Because, you're handed a case, but you're not, you're given deadlines to a point. Like we have a trial in 6 months, but there's nobody there over your shoulder saying you have to get this done today. You have to be dedicated. You have to be able to manage your schedule and get things done when there's nobody telling you it has to be done.
I would tell you this, man, the few cases you gave me, and I did some stuff with Julian and some defense attorneys here in town. You're right. Hey, man, there was days, man, that I'm missing out on stuff because I'm at home typing out this crap and watching videos and listening to, interviews and stuff. And you're right. Nobody's going to do it for you. You got to do it. And if you take on the case, at least have the wherewithal to give it the best that you got to give. What mistakes should people that are going into your business avoid at all costs?
Not getting an education and not having the ability to look at things big picture wise and understanding that people make mistakes, that there's potentially a reason for what they do. And you have to be able to understand that and accept that when you're helping that person.
I don't know about you, but I also saw this. I saw a lot of the attorneys, I think so even some of the investigators believe everything they're told. And I would be like, listen, dude, especially career criminals have made a life out of manipulating people. And I used to tell these people, just because he told it to you doesn't make it true. Right. And every time I would start digging, it would all come out that they lied. And it's bullshit. And it's tough because, especially when you're trying to help.
Well, I think it comes to being able to talk to people and creating that relationship with your client. And I think I've gotten really good at that. I create a relationship with them to where I can say, look, that's bullshit. Yeah. I'm here to help you. I don't care what it is. Just tell me what happened, right? Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't like that at first. And I'm not saying I believed everything they said, but I was more direct on shut up, you're lying. But you have to develop a relationship, be able to talk to people. It's a rapport. There's a way to it gets somebody to admit they're lying without confronting them about it.
Correct. What traits will sustain someone for a lifetime in your profession?
Being a hard worker.
Yeah.
Being dedicated to what you do.
Yeah.
Getting continuing your education.
Yeah.
Neither one of us knows everything. I learn something new on a case every day.
I agree.
And don't be afraid to educate yourself on the other side.
Yeah.
You know, what's the DA thinking? What's the police? Why did the police do this? Well, this is why they did this. You know, understand everything.
Yeah. I think, continuing education has got to be just a huge thing. I think even once in law, I mean, we've often brought this up about law enforcement. I think our continuing education in law enforcement is bullshit. Those perishable skills.
Dude, it was a joke. We didn't learn anything there.
You didn't. You got to do way more. I think cities need to get very active going, all right, we're going to send everybody to an interview and interrogation, DUI school, 11550 school, defensive tactics, whatever it is we're going to do. Let's go all in and let's get these people as trained as possible. Is it going to cost money? Yes. Are people going to be missing work out here in patrol? Yes. But let's do what we can to make these people as well-rounded as possible. If you could sit down with your 22-year-old self, what would you want him to know?
I could write a book about that.
Yeah.
Understanding back then, my whole life was I want to be a cop.
Yeah.
I would have told him, look, that great decision, but there's other things you could have done.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't regret being in law enforcement because it's got me where I'm at now. Everything comes from being in law enforcement. But I would tell him to get an education earlier instead of later in life. Keep learning and be a little bit better prepared of the social ramifications of being who you are and going into the field you're being in.
Yeah. No, I can see that. After everything you've been through, what has this career taught you about life?
That everything happens for a reason. That's the number one. And the two people that tell me that the most are my two mentors that I have, and that was Melina Benninghoff, who, again, recently passed, and that's hard for me, and Colleen Mestis.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason.
I agree.
Right? And you're here in this position right now because stuff happened. Sometimes it's not good stuff that happened, but you're here for a reason, and everything happens for a reason, and you can get through anything. Don't let anything hold you back or knock you down.
I agree.
You can overcome everything.
Yeah, I agree. What has this whole thing, what does it cost you?
The whole,
not money-wise, but what does it cost you,
emotionally? I mean, we've talked about some of the things that's changed my view of the world.
Yeah.
It's taught me that sometimes you can't be who you are.
Yeah.
It's taught me that maybe there's too many expectations of living a certain way, that some people think that that's how everybody should be.
Yeah.
It's taught me what hard work can get you.
Yeah, I agree. And finally, what message do you want to leave with the audience today?
That, a lot of you that watch the show, former law enforcement, people that are related to law enforcement, it's an amazing profession. There's amazing people in it, but understand what it does to people and be compassionate to what it does to people. Understand that just because somebody's accused of something doesn't mean they did it, or it doesn't make them a bad person, or doesn't mean they can't overcome that. And just be a good person. Treat people with respect, no matter who they are. Respect people. And just because somebody who does criminal defense work doesn't mean they're on the dark side.
Yeah.
It means you're fighting for people's rights. You're being that team member to protect somebody when they're accused of something.
I get it. Well, brother, I got you a copy of my book.
Awesome.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
know what I mean?
I can't wait to read it.
And read it, and then I'd be interested in your thoughts.
For sure.
Well, we're going to wrap up. I just want to let you know, I've always respected you. I've always liked you. We've always gotten along, and we went to YSO school together. I remember everything that's happened to you. I remember I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. I also think that I'm happy, and I think you're where you should be, bro. And keep doing what you're doing. And I love the fact that you're even willing to come on the show. There's a lot of people I've reached out to that, some are not comfortable doing this. But I love the fact I hit you up and you're like, let's do it, man.
Right.
And
thank you for our friend. You've always been a friend to me, even in the years I was gone. When we run into each other, we've kept in contact.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Oh,
and there's a lot more of those people that are around, but they just don't advertise it as much for political reasons, probably.
Yeah. I get it.
But the stories I could tell about when we were at YSO school.
Yeah.
But we won't talk about that today.
Well, folks, next week I'll be having another guest. I just want to leave you guys with this. A badge is not a shield from life's storms, but a promise to stand in the storm for others. So continue to watch. And this is another episode of Street to Strategy. This is your boy, J Mac. Good luck, God bless, and Godspeed. Thank you.